Staggered Stance, episode 208, believe it or not. And it's our 36th Staggered Stance episode. Obviously, longtime listeners know this as the Nick and Matt show. And the only reason I'd bring that up is who are we missing tonight? Nick and Matt. We were just talking. We're like, this is our first time. Have we fully graduated to Staggered Stance, kind of doing our own thing? Obviously, kind of joking around about that specific piece. But I believe Matt is busy on business travel. I think it's possible he'll pop up in the chat depending when he lands somewhere, but who knows. And then Nick, I think, was queued up and ready to join us. But anybody who knows what or where Nick is now living and what his job is, he is, I presume, in the process of evacuating the western coast of Florida. And so, obviously, we wish the best for everybody in Florida. We hope there's still time for that hurricane to downgrade or steer somewhere different, but it looks to be pretty serious. So hopefully people are making good, wise decisions. And I think Nick's probably one of them. And so I'm sure he's hoping the course will be fine. More importantly, that everybody living there obviously would be fine and safe property. But anyway, so just the three of us. So Evan, how you doing? Ben, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for the intro, Josh.
Yeah.
Me as
Ben,
well.
you're doing good?
I'm doing so well. Life's good.
All right. All right. Thanks for setting up the show.
Of course.
Appreciate that because obviously Evan or I are not producing, which is good and bad. So thank you to you, Ben. But it also means if anything goes wrong, everybody knows who to call out. So
Yes.
not me.
And that's why I asked the chat to let me know how's it going. Chat, you're my lifeline today. So let me know.
Although, like you may all appreciate or not, I sent Matt a private text. Let's see over the weekend. I'm like, hey, where should I look to see if I want to learn to produce? And then I'm like, I don't know if I want to learn to produce, Ben. I'm not sure that'd be good for me.
You gotta go through a rigorous 2-year internship.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Either that
you
or
could
I'll just
do
learn
it.
to produce and then set up my own competing podcast and see how that goes.
No, you could. You're ultra running. Remember, we're gonna start an ultra running podcast.
That's true. Hey, I
One day.
mentioned this before that someone in the chat or the comment was like, hey, I love the tangents of running. And I'm like, I'm always a fan for that. Anyway, this show, even though it's just the three of us, does not mean it's any less this episode presented by Disc Golf 978. I personally have not ran any of their or participated in any of their events, not because of 978, but because I just don't play competitively as much. But Ben, you're familiar with them. I know the owners, interacted with them some at Maple Hill, but why don't you remind everybody about what Disc Golf 978 does?
Yeah, so Staggered Stance, this episode is presented by Disc Golf 978. They're a pro shop. They got the lowest pricing, the minimum advertised pricing you can buy on their website and in store, and it's free shipping over $25. So you can buy an expensive Tour Series disc, relatively expensive for disc, and get free shipping automatically. But I kind of want to touch on this. I am wearing exclusive Disc Golf 978 made stuff in their first available printing department, which is just a different section of Disc Golf 978, which they, as you can see, direct to film transfer. They made me my Hooligan Discs kind of tournament polo jersey, sun hoodie. And also, if you can see here, I don't know if you haven't heard the news, the Northeast Disc Golf Expo is now called Disc East, and I'm having one in Texas called Disc South. They printed out this discgolfexpos.com with my new Disc Golf Expos logo on a hat. So, where I'm going with this, if you participate in any Disc Golf 978 tournament and you do well, or don't do well, a lot of the times you're going to get a player's pack that's only $25. That is $25 credit to your account. You can use that on their printing division. So if you want tournament apparel or even just brand apparel, as you can see, my hat is brand apparel. They got it done for me right before MVP. It was super seamless. I got to see the process. I got to see them print this right in front of me. So it's just super cool what they're doing over there. So check out Disc Golf 978 for all your disc golf pro shops related needs, but also first available printing, because they can literally print any apparel that you would like, and it's affordable. So check it out.
Yes, and yeah, thank you to them. Great people, great business. Obviously, disc golf industry has had its ups and downs, but we love teams who are, or people who support support the sport. That was a weird, like almost a tongue
Support
twister.
the
Support
sport.
the sport. Uh, but anyway, yeah, Disc Golf 978. Check them out on the web for sure. Hey, before we move on to actual disc golf talk, also I mentioned the Hurricane Milton, which is really gearing up on the Florida coast. So again, we already wished safety. People make the right decisions on where they need to go, what they need to do. But man, what about the aftermath of Hurricane Helene? It's like I feel like those of us who are separate from that, we're seeing the news and we understand it, but there's just no way we actually understand it. So much of our life is still just moving on. So again, just wanted to kind of pause and just acknowledge that like, yeah, we're going to have fun talking about disc golf here tonight, but we know some people, disc golf just went way down the priority list in their lives. And, if you have any opportunities, there's plenty of fundraisers. I'm sure over time, especially in future years, there's going to be chances to help those communities continue to rebuild. So just wanted to acknowledge that once more before we move on.
Yeah, and I'll jump into, so many places in the Southeast got hit hard. I think Western North Carolina has maybe the hardest and the most notable, in the surrounding areas around there, and the mountains of kind of the lower Appalachia area, but also Augusta, Georgia, where a number of the PDGA employees live, and they, houses without power at the minimum, but even, trees falling on property and just a lot of devastation that isn't easy to come over, but I know all the love and support is helpful in just continuing to support all those that you can, and all the areas that are affected. And hopefully this next storm is little as affected as possible, but there are certainly going to be people affected with this oncoming storm and future storms as we hit this age.
Yeah, I heard
with unfortunate storms.
It's upgraded to a Category 5. So obviously it's pretty tough. But you never know with a storm. Obviously anything can happen. So
I'm saying hopefully it downgrades or turns, but if it hits, let's see. I hope the best. And I know there's more important things than disc golf, but we'll just mention it because we are a disc golf podcast. In that even Olympus, right? So Nick's evacuating, but man, that like. You've got to be nervous if you're him and the owners, and there's events like teed up to go in the coming weekends and all that. And, you hope it's just some minor cleanup, but it seems like it could be holding out for the worst. But we're going to talk USDGC tonight, of course. It is the weekend before. And hey, that event itself has been impacted by hurricanes in the past. I'm not sure we'll actually go back and recall all the history of that, but we had a shortened event in the past, and I don't think this one's set to kind of threaten this event, but this time of year, especially in the Southeast. So Evan, why don't you, we didn't have any Pro Tour or Elite Series events. I know there was still plenty of disc golf happening, but why don't you give us whatever recap you've got, and we'll react to it.
Yeah, a few notable A tiers this week. We're going to focus on just one, the Carolina Clash, happening in Charlotte, North Carolina. Of course, the same metro area, the main city of this metro area, or the city defining the metro area. But Rock Hill, South Carolina, this coming week with USDGC, maybe in the greater Charlotte area. But the Carolina Clash, we had KT Tati winning an FPO, her first event of the year in the United States. She spent the year staying in Estonia in the Nordic region, winning a few events out there, playing a few Disc Golf Pro Tour events in the European Open, the major out in Europe this year, but finally making the trip over to the U.S. and playing in Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf this coming week. But she wins over Owen Scoggins by one stroke in the 3-round event. And this marks the first time that KT Tati has ever beaten Owen Scoggins in a sanctioned event, which is pretty incredible. She was 0 for 23 heading into this event, finally beats Owen, and we know how good Owen is, especially at just any A tier she plays. But great win for KT Tati, getting over the States. And then Holly Finley and Sarah Hokum also getting top finishes here, heading into Throw Pink. And then on the MPO side, we had Joel Freeman win by 9 strokes over Cole Redolin, 10 over Andrew Marweed and Parker Welk, and tied for third. Braden Sides, Emerson Keith, Chandler Kramer, Matt Oram. You can go on. A lot of notable names in this field. And Joel Freeman getting a big win, shooting a 1088 final round, just smoking like 12 down in the final round, and the next best score was 6 down. And I believe that was it was the hot round of the weekend. Great win for Joel Freeman. He's a sneaky play at USDGC, so that's cool to see him getting a win leading into this. And then 2 more names just to quickly mention from this event. Michael Johansson wins an MP40, and Brian Schweberger wins an MP50. I feel like we usually mention those names just as notables for getting those wins. Brian Schweberger, of course, having so many wins that always just can squeeze in, hey, he won another event. But just today, we had the USDGC Championship Week Monday qualifying. In MPO, the top 5 finishers of the field of, 112 people, 111 played with 1 DNF, and then in FPO, the top 2 out of 17 make it. And we saw Grady Shue and Paige Shue both finish in the top position, husband and wife, both advancing to play USDGC and Throw Pink, respectively. Grady Shue was one of 5 in MPO, along with Drew Gibson, Dan Hastings, Andrew Miranda, and John Blackburn. And then in FPO, Paige Shue and Sandy Hendel, notable name there, both advanced. And plenty of notable names missing the cut as well. But Josh and Ben, throwing it over to you guys. Any immediate reactions on Grady and Paige advancing, Drew Gibson, any other names? And then I do want to hear about just general feelings toward Monday qualifying and kind of the hype that comes with this USDGC Monday qualifying.
Yeah, I can go first. We mentioned this before we went live, but we were talking about just how Grady Shue's round in qualifying probably would be at least lead card, I'd say, possibly leading the tournament if it was done on a Thursday, possibly, which is absolutely insane that he does that on a Monday qualifier.
I should have looked this up when you did mention it, Ben, and I didn't even think about it until right now. Quickly looked at just last year's USDGC. Across all 4 rounds, there was only 1 player to also shoot a 53, which is what Grady Shue shot today. I'm fairly certain the pars have remained the same. 64. Yeah, 64 last year as well. So only 111 down last year, and it was Chris Clemens in round 2, who ultimately finished in 9th place. If you look at, I'm looking at 2023. Oh my goodness. Give me a minute.
It's this year's 2024.
Last year was 2023.
That's right. Yeah, last year
guys,
was just
it is Monday. I legitimately thought Gannon Burr won USDGC last year. It was Kyle Klein last year. My goodness, good thing we're doing a preview with a little bit of recap. I literally just thought that's a stat or fiction moment right there. I thought I had the wrong year. I thought Kyle Klein won 2 years ago and Gannon Burr won last year.
Yep.
Woo! No, Kyle Klein did win last year, and that stat still remains correct. Kyle Klein's best round last year was a 55 that he shot in rounds 1 and 2. So Grady Shue beating that by 2 strokes in Monday qualifying. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy for his score, and it's crazy that him and his wife both qualify at the top of the field. Not only do they qualify, they both take down the Monday qualifier top score. I mean, that's just that's plain old fun. Right. I mean, that's just really exciting for them. I'm sure they're feeling good tonight. And yeah, Grady, somebody who's only played, I think, in 5 elite events this year. I mean, people who are newer to the disc golf scene may not even know who he is at all, but he did tour for a couple years and then has since married FPO world champ, right, who is Paige Bjerkes, who is now Paige Shue, as she married Grady Shue. And they've been off and on competing, I think just a different life stage, but obviously they're both still really good at disc golf. Maybe not good enough to win any elite tour events right now, except for clearly somebody like Grady's got a hot hand. Wouldn't that be a crazy story, right? If he could come out and string together multiple rounds like that. But
and as long as I'm getting my years correct, last year at 2023 Worlds, Grady Shue was leading after round 2.
Yeah.
So leading
Clearly
at a major is well within his the possibilities. I mean, especially if he can shoot another 11 down. I'm still laughing at me just being dumbfounded that
I get it though. I've done that too, where I'm thinking 2023 because we're already in 2025. It seems like, but then it's close or still.
Yeah, I mean,
at the
I know
tail
you're
end.
planning for the expo in 2025, and you're probably thinking 2025 constantly. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm the same, where like 2024 feels
Yeah,
like
I
that.
always say
Yeah,
last year's
anybody who's-
expo
yeah.
when it was literally like maybe like 5 months ago.
Yeah, no, that's how it works. I also work in product strategy, so we build multiple year roadmaps, right? And so, yeah, I'm already talking 2026, which makes it really hard to remember what year you're in.
Yeah,
We've got like 5-year plans. So
nice.
anyway, hey, I also wanted to react. Joel Freeman, well, and Katie Totti, but that event briefly. Obviously, it's quote unquote just an A tier, but when these people step onto a course, all these top level pros, I think they play their hardest. And Joel Freeman, like I still not quite sure what to think of him, right? He actually has still had an okay year from his pro tour standing standpoint, not that far off of the prior year, but I feel like he's been a lot quieter. I think we saw him a lot more in lead cards and coverages in 2023 than we have this year. But every once in a while, he throws down a crazy hot round. I forget, wasn't it another A tier event last year that he threw some scorching hot round? Some people say it could be the best round ever. Of course, the rating didn't show that, but like he seems to pop off. And if he could ever string together, and this is maybe true for a lot of these pros, so it's kind of a generic statement, but if he could string together a few of those hot rounds, I think a lot of people would be surprised. He's got it in him, but
Yeah, and I if I'm gonna guess what you're thinking of, I think it's the Butler County round, which
That
was
sounds
a
right.
couple
In Pennsylvania.
years ago. That was when I was a Silver Series. I think.
Got it.
I
That may be it.
I don't know if people can trust me with the years, but I think
well, either way, yes,
was
on the
2021.
fly, we're thinking of the same thing. So maybe
2022.
it's 2 years ago. Anyway, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So congrats to them. And for Katie Totti, it's like, yeah, what she's been playing events, as you noted, but not over here against a lot of the U.S. field. And to come over and show up, and I presume she's registered for Throw Pink. I didn't actually check, but if she's here, maybe she is.
I guess I just noted that. Okay, yeah, she definitely is registered for Throw Pink.
right,
I
thank you
noticed
for
that was her last event, and that was her last event in the US. In the U.S. Oh my goodness, too many things on a Monday. Her last event in the U.S. prior to the Carolina Clash was last year's 2023 Throw Pink. I got to be very clear with what I'm saying because I will certainly mess it up, and I'm very even worried at that statement. Just okay.
Double check. Good old stat or fiction with Evan's statements tonight. Like, remember, again, we haven't had it on the show, so longtime listeners know, but stat or fiction, we'd always wonder, are you tricking us with something that's just like as simple as swapping the year?
Yeah.
The rest of the thing is stat or the rest of the thing is fiction and you just swap the year. So maybe a little bit of that going on. But
Yeah, I'm certainly overthinking at this point, but yeah, let's move on, Josh.
yeah. So we're going to talk about several different topics, USDGC being first and foremost. We are going to do pop, drop, lock picks. And just as a preview, we do have picks for both USDGC and Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship. But because they're two separate events, and sure, they're run on the same weekend using the same course, but they are two different PDGA events being run in parallel. So when you go and do picks, anybody who's competing, we'll go through our picks in a little bit, not yet, but just giving you the preview. If you're going out there, make sure you look at both events and submit separate picks for them. We'll get back to our own picks before we move on too far. But for USDGC, let's talk about that for a little bit. Such an interesting event. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I have one question, actually, to Evan. Feel free if this is not a question you can answer, but I've never understood why it is XC, right, and not rated. Is there a reasoning for that, or like that you can explain?
Yeah, so I mean, are you talking about the qualifying one being an XC or the major being
The
an XM?
major, yeah. I thought the
the-
major's like
the
not
major-
rated or
it's
something
an-
like that, or XC or something.
Yeah, it's an XM. So
XM.
in the current state, you do get round ratings, but
It just doesn't count towards your rating.
almost certainly positive that they do not count towards player ratings.
They don't, yeah. I can
So
tell you that.
yeah, I'm not the ratings guy, just to be clear, but I do try to understand my best. And so when you finish the round, it'll say, hey, you got this round rating, we can compare it to others, and we can say, hey, is this round rating a best ever? But when you factor into the player rating, these rounds do not count because of the stroke and distance factor, because of the special rules that this event uses, and that's why you get the X and the XM. This Monday qualifying one was at an X. Okay, the Monday qualifying was an XC tier. So following the same logic, just this was not a major event. The qualifying was not a major. The qualifying was a C tier held to be qualifying for the major. So they're both X for, I would assume, the same reason.
So you answered. It's special rules that is why it's X, M.
Yes. Special rules.
Yep, right. So yeah, it's a major for lots of historical reasons. It's the U.S. Championship, so the PDGA. It's one of the majors that they host annually. But because they're running different rules with non-exception waivers in the traditional sense, obviously there's a lot of conversation to be had between PDGA and the U.S. Championships. But in short, yeah, it's too different than all of your other major or standard elite events, Ben. And so as a result, they just don't calculate them in. And to be fair, we don't have to debate that at length here, but there are a lot of mixed opinions on that, right? At the end of the day, I can't imagine that we care too much about the fact of whether or not the ratings actually impact the players' ratings. Like, that's just not the main thing. But just probably in general, like what's the more nuanced considerations of why it's X tier or not? And that's probably a whole nother conversation to be had. But yeah, that's how I understand it as well. So I was going to say, there's a lot of unique things about this event. And so Ben, you jumped in and asked one of the questions. So we don't have too many events outside of like the Pro Tour Championship, which is kind of unique, but where you literally must qualify to play. Other events do that. That's obviously not a novel concept, but USDGC's kind of stuck pretty hard to that, right? And there were some different years, some weird's not the right word, but different in their history. What was it? The flight. Oh, all of a sudden I'm literally pulling
Performance flight.
Yeah, thank you. Which was like a mix of amateur and so they've done a bunch of different things, which is kind of their thing, is to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it an interesting juxtaposition. So side by side, you have the fact that they do so many different things. But guess what? One of the things that players are famous for saying they love about this event, the fact that it's at the same venue and same course. So I find it interesting that that's one of the things we love the most, which I understand and appreciate, but also the fact that every single year you've got either course changes, rule changes, and as a result, it's interesting. So this event, Ben, I'm literally putting you on the spot. I don't expect you to know this. Take a guess how many years this event has run. And don't be embarrassed if you're way off. Just throw out a number.
Let me think real quick.
And I'm not counting performance flight because I'm counting traditional. MPO is what it would be because
chat spoiled it for me, but I was gonna say I was gonna say like 04, but like so that was gonna be my actual answer. 04.
24 years. 24 years
since 99 apparently.
Yep. But the event's only had 14 winners.
Can you name them?
And Ben, Evan, I'm wearing the old school Stat Mando hat. So you can check me if I get something wrong.
A 14 sounds about right. I
counted.
Okay, we can do the math backwards.
So 14 winners, which means there's 4-time repeat winners.
Are we gonna name them? I'll name them right now.
Yeah, go. Who are the only ones? Oh, by the way, let me clarify. Repeat usually means back to back, not necessarily. So I should say multi-time winners. Right. Okay. So there's 4 multi-time winners.
Oh, you only want me to give the multi?
You can list all 4 multi-winners if you know.
I'll go Will Shoestrick.
Yep.
Paul Macbeth.
Yes.
Now
you got to go back. You haven't been watching disc golf this long.
I know.
Your names you'll know.
Check. Yeah, I know. It's I want to say, Ken Climo. That'd be my guess.
Yes.
One more.
You got one more.
And then I'd say, either Dave Felberg or Doss, but I'm gonna say Dave Felberg.
He has won a U.S. championship, but only once.
Okay.
And so the answer, Evan, you probably know it. You're shaking your head.
Yes, I do know it, but you can reveal it.
All right, Barry Schultz.
Oh
So,
yeah, I
who
don't think I would have got that.
yeah. So, but he won, I believe, 2 times. I think I actually don't have that number right in front of me. 2 or 3. 2.
No, he won 3 times.
3 times.
01, 03, and 06.
All right. And Climo's the only one who ever won back to back. But yes, Paul Macbeth also has it. And
Yeah, if you do exclude the performance flight, depending on that, if you go standard stroke play, then Will Schustrick technically won back to back with standard stroke play, but
that's
considering-
probably true. That's true.
Yeah, considering the performance flight one or however
Yeah,
way you
so
look at it.
this is starting to turn into history lessons for.
That's all right.
for-
It's a
for
preview
Ben.
week for USDGC.
but
so like,
but is that
Yeah.
fun?
Yeah. So I know Schustrick won, and then didn't win because of the performance, and then won after that. I know that much, and I know he didn't win because of the performance or something. I'm just so confused. Like, I've heard about it where it was like your handicap or something, but like, can you guys tell me more about what that performance flight was, and what was the reasoning? Just because they always want to be different? Was that kind of like the thing? Because they've stuck to their kind of different things.
well, can I take an attempt at answering the second half first? And Evan, I don't know if you're an expert on performance flight. I'm going to come out and say I'm not.
Nope, me neither.
Okay, well, so Ben, we're not going to do a good job
Let us know,
answering
chat.
that. But you asked, is it because they always want to be different? And my answer would probably position it slightly. I don't think they're trying to be different for the sake of being different. I think Innova running this event has certainly demonstrated a willingness to try different things, right? And for example, we always give kudos on this show to like Steve Dodge for trying different things, because whether they work or fail, often that's how you innovate and discover. And I think that's part of the situation. They're trying different things in different years. That was a pretty drastic change. And obviously, I think the fact they never did it again probably suggests that they felt like it didn't accomplish what they had hoped to accomplish. I don't know enough to pretend to rattle on exactly what it was. So you mentioned it. I mentioned a mix of amateurs. Yeah, like a bunch of stuff. Somebody in the chat probably knows, but I'm not going to pretend
let
to
us know, chat.
ramble on about it.
Yeah, and I don't have I don't know much about on this subject, but what I do want to note that I find interesting is the performance flight was exactly at the midway point on USDGC's career as an event. It was held in 2011. There were 12 instances of USDGC prior to that, and there have been 12 since. This will be the 13th year. So after this year is completed, we'll be the performance flight year will be closer to the beginning than it will be to present day.
Old history.
Yeah. So turning that page and getting, we're in modern day. I don't know the best way to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just other things that you can react to any of these, that just this event, some players, I don't know if most, but some players, right, value this even over Worlds. I think most players value Worlds over this.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why there's some tension is I think the nostalgia and the weight of history is stronger at this event. And so if that's important to you, then this event probably wins out, primarily because Worlds moves around, right? And as a result, you get different experiences, different venues, different years. It's hard to compare. And there's just a lot of history here. When you think about this course, you have lots of unique holes. They're recognizable holes. And even though I talked about the consistency, they change things, right? Like, triple Mandos. How many of the holes actually have, unique nicknames, for them, right?
Yeah.
888, which is not, I don't know if that's a unique nickname, but it kind of, resonates with the event.
Florida, I think that's one, right?
It may be.
The beach,
Yeah.
beach one. I think
Yeah,
it's
the
called
beach hole.
Florida.
The beach hole.
Is it
Yeah.
called Florida, or did I make that up?
I don't know. You can call it Florida, but
I
know
don't
it is
think
the
I don't
beach
think
hole.
people reference the whole as Florida, but they do have state flags, and maybe on the T sign it does
I just made
have a state with it. I want to say that the beach hole is Florida. I feel like they did something like that.
That
I don't
might
know,
make
but
sense.
I'm like almost positive there isn't in New Hampshire, so a little bummed there. I mean, there's not 50 holes, so
Yeah, that's true.
can't have every state recognized. But maybe we could double up, get a nice New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine as one hole, playing through pine trees in the hills of Winthrop. I don't know.
Yeah, but just so many things. Even like, so then we talked about the rules. Like obviously, hole 17 is famous, right? But the fact that, I mean, you've seen people almost like unload their bag, right? And just the way the pressure
Hmm.
mounts. And again, varying opinions on if it's good or bad. We saw at the European Open how they changed their hole 16 design, which had some similar feels to hole 17. I mean, the hole's quite different, but similar vibe as far as drop zone and getting on an island. So there's just a lot of unique things here. Um, I mean, mozzarella sticks, does that resonate with anybody? Now, I have to say, I'm not an expert yet on this year's course, but I think I saw pine trees,
Yeah,
Christmas trees.
I mean, I didn't do in-depth research on this, which are we still all good, Ben? I know I see
Yeah,
some
yeah,
things
yeah.
going
We're
places.
good. We're good.
We're
I
good?
think we're good.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Had to restart.
I heard about trees in a box. I don't know if that's the official title of them, but it's pretty much it from what I've gauged,
I've
and,
seen
and
it,
none of
yeah.
this is official matter, but like it's a rent a tree kind of system maybe, where it's in like a big potting box, and they just moved them where they wanted to be to have that be the obstacle for the week. And so, in the same idea as the poles that were in front of the hole, and then they made them almost like fake Christmas trees. The idea that you are intentionally putting an obstacle there, but now that they are trees, we'll see how that resonates with people. But it seems like the type of thing where if they try it out and they put the tree there and they don't like it, next year when they rent it, they can put it somewhere else and you can
Yeah.
really move it. Where you think about the cost to actually move a tree with roots in the ground, not quite as easy to place it exactly where you want and the time for it to grow, all those factors.
Yeah. Wow. And we'll come back to this in a minute, but you talk about moving trees. They've had to move some trees in the last few days, not by their own choice. But yeah,
Hmm.
like, so without going hole by hole, I mean, when I saw that picture of trees in a box, like a planter box, I mean, it's just no other event on tour is doing that. I don't know if any other event can get away with it because of the blowback. And USDGC every year has plenty of blowback, but it's also, again, it's something like it's earned the right based on its reputation to try different things, and people still love the event. Um, and I guess you kind of you earn that, right? You earn the ability to do that when you pull off one of the best events every year. It's a major. We talked about it being an X tier. I think it's a lot of little things like this that kind of give it that a non-traditional sanctioning from PDGA. But it's also one of the things we love, and maybe some people love to hate, but it creates a lot of excitement because starting next Wednesday, right? It's gonna be or not next Wednesday, this week. Wednesday, 7, 8,
Oh
9, 10.
no, you're having one of me
Thursday.
moments.
Uh-oh.
Thursday. It's
This
starting on
Thursday
Thursday.
it starts.
Yes. But USDGC for many years, again, another difference. They used to often start on Wednesday and finish on a Saturday. So this event just has lots of unique history, I think. Also, they've broken ground or broken the ceiling is really what I should say numerous times on payout history. So again, they have a big reputation for that. And as the sport's grown, the pro tours become much larger. Obviously, they're not competing necessarily with the largest payout, but just last year was still 30,000, which by the way was a significant increase, right, year over year. If you look at the history, but they made some of the biggest splashes in the early days. Again, one of the reasons why there's probably so much history compared to even Worlds, because I mean they were paying out $10,000 in 2003, which is a long time ago in the sport, and $10,000 was a pretty darn big deal. I mean, even now, many people would be happy with that. So anyway, I'm rambling, and others can react again, Evan or Ben. But I'm just trying to kind of list a lot of the things that make this event unique, which is part of the reason why I think we also look forward to it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to go back just a little bit. When I mentioned New Hampshire, I was totally incorrect. Daniel in the chat let me know that hole 15 is New Hampshire. So now hole 15 is my favorite hole on the course.
So I was looking up caddy books, like I was looking at that thing like 2015 or 2012, I forget, just now, and New Hampshire wasn't on there, but Florida was. So maybe they change it every year. I just know the beach hole has always been called the Florida hole. I didn't even know they did states for all the other holes. But Yeah.
I don't know how they name them, but I know you can also see along the course on some of the, now I'm going to forget the whole number, so I'm not going to try to get it wrong, but you can see the flags, right, hanging on the metal fencing and scaffolding. And so it's just pretty cool. You see state flags, you see some international flags. I think you see other flags even mixed in. Um, and it just, there's something about that, right? And obviously being a major, I've talked about before, majors alone are what really excite me because I think that's what cements a legacy. So just to cap it all off, right? Yeah, really, really looking forward to this week. It carries a lot of excitement, but maybe I missed some other things. What else is unique?
It-
Or what else do you like about it?
well,
Mozzarella
I don't.
sticks.
Yeah, I want to at least mention. I mean, you mentioned with the pop drop block part, but Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship is a separate event. It's an XA tier for this, but we all love watching it and seeing the excitement there. Just a little bit in the history of this event is. I don't know what they officially see it as, but as far as the name goes, it has been running. This will be the 4th year. It started in 2021. And then in years past, this Winthrop and the staff has run a major in the area, and that was U.S. Women's in 2000 and 2001, and then in 2020, obviously with COVID affecting, there was no U.S. Women's, so there was the Women's National Championship held at Winthrop, and that might have been the the spark for this new event being Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship. And so in those 3 years, we have seen 3 different winners: Missy Gannon, Katrina Allen, and Holland Hanley. And I think last year everyone's going to remember the excitement that came from last year with Holland Hanley winning from the chase card, like the 4 different leaders in the final round at different times, and just so much excitement with this event. They going to the playoff, and of course, people are going to mention the controversy on hole 18, but still, all the excitement that this had for Holland Hanley getting such a huge win, sparking her 2024. There's so much excitement there for such a quality event. So although USDGC is MPO only, we have the FPO division playing in this event alongside it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Again, that's something that we could actually debate. The debate may be better with a wider cast on our show, and we can think about it. But yeah, like we treat it like a major, kind of. I think so many of us know it's not a major that we intentionally try not to treat it like a major either. But it's like if you kind of recognize the fact that it runs parallel with the event. The players seem to, for the most part, treat it the same. You've seen when Missy won a couple years ago, she was kind of like, it's a little frustrating almost to feel the consternation of like, people asked, did you win a major? And it's like, no, I didn't win a major. It felt like winning a major, but it's not. And obviously now she got a major, so she can kind of like dismiss that. Like for her, it's like, yes, she's a major winner. But it's exciting. I think from a fan perspective, I'll watch it as if it's a major. And I think that'll be an interesting discussion. Evan, you don't have to react to this at all because I've got zero inside scoop. I know you work for the PDGA, but like I would think and I hope, and actually, if I were a betting person, I think eventually they'll figure out how to work out and turn this into a major. And I'm not suggesting it would replace U.S. Women's. Like there's so many ways this could go. But that's what I'm hopeful for. Don't know if it'll happen. Don't know if Doug and the rest of the staff there are even considering it. But I think it'd be cool, and I think there's lots of justification to consider it. But who knows? It could be another X tier. Guess we'll see how it plays out. Yeah, have any of you ever been down to the event? It's known as being an awesome spectator venue.
I'm going out for the first time. I'm flying out, and I will be at UCGC, helping out with the staff and stuff like that. So if you see me around, say hi.
You caddying for Gannon Burr or Schlebach?
Can people ask you for autographs? Is that legit?
What? You said can
just
people ask you
repeated
for
names you
autographs?
Yeah. Oh, yes. We were asking you 2 things. I said, are people allowed to ask you for autographs? That's what I said.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think it like skipped, so I heard. I don't even know, but yeah, people are allowed to ask. I will sign autographs, and yes, I'm not caddying for Gannon Burr.
How do you sign autographs? Is it like, do you do just like official Ben Kenny? Do you still kind of take on the intern Ben persona? Are you Gannon's former caddy? Are you the guy that sometimes appears on Simon's videos?
He just signed it Disc East and he puts the date on it.
Yes.
So the funniest thing, the funniest thing is I have to ask all the time, like people that say, hey, big fan, and I have to say, oh yeah, like what do you know me from?
Of which one?
Yeah,
of which
because
Ben?
yeah, exactly. Like it's hilarious you say that because it's like people either recognize me from Simon's vlogs, the expos, here, my own content, or they know all of it. But sometimes I just have to ask them like, what do they? And then it's only one thing that they know me from. But yeah, I just signed my signature as I do with B. I've been working on it. I've been switching up. I used to do Ben Kenny, but now I just do B K. Boom.
Have it your
That's
way.
it. Exactly. So, yeah, I just find it so funny that sometimes I literally like ask people like, so like from where, so I can get the full kind of grip of so I can steer that conversation that way, I guess. I
Like
don't
when
know.
they say like, yeah, I buy night crawlers at your tackle shack, and you're
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Really?
They're like, oh, thanks,
That
man.
too.
I've never got that. I've never got recognized. Actually, I did once. I got recognized in Target once for being a tackle store owner. You're like, wait. It was a younger kid. He's like, wait, are you Ben from Ben's Tackle Shack? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, that's awesome. He like dapped me up, and I was like, yeah, thank you. Obviously, I said more than that, but that was like the only time I got recognized as tackle store owner.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So a couple other things, since I know we're just kind of rambling and rattling off, but this is great, is the course was impacted, of all of our hurricane talk at the beginning of the show, by Hurricane Helene. Obviously not as bad as other places north and west of there, but they've been posting stuff on their Instagram. And again, one thing you can trust is the USDGC staff team. They take the event seriously as a major. And even though I'm sure it cost them probably a lot of money, but certainly a lot of time and effort, you can see they've been working hard. I mean, all of the equipment in there, they talked about how many dump trucks of debris they've had to remove, literally trees had to remove. I think truly like pumping out like, I forget the numbers now, tens of thousands of gallons of water, because they can't just wait for it to reside on its own. So I imagine on coverage we may see some differences, but it sounds like the integrity of the course was preserved, so that's great. Another thing about this event, you often see, I think, is it after the last round or maybe between the third and fourth, but they do their distance showcase where they've got the music blasting, the elevated tee throwing across the water. They've done that most years, maybe every year. So Ben, I'm sure you'll get to take in a lot of that while being there and report back to us. They also have, they host their own actual distance competition, and I think that was today.
Yeah,
And
so
I have not
okay.
seen results.
I have the results right here. Josh is texting me. So we have
Nice.
Josh
Um,
Graham?
Not me.
Josh from Overthrow. Sorry.
Yes.
Nice.
So 20. Wait, is it? Oh, this is like over. I thought this was.
Is this
I thought he said
2024
to
or
qualify.
2023?
Yeah, it is
Year are we in?
2024. So 2024 champion Jasper Till. Second place with Jasper Till with a 670-foot throw. Second place Anthony Barella, 658. Third Thomas Gilbert, 622. Fourth Silas Schultz with a 614. And fifth Mikey O'Brien with a 607. And you might be asking yourself, who's Mikey O'Brien? Because you probably don't know him, but you know his face because he is the other half of Overthrow Disc Golf. How crazy is that? He qualified for
this
the
is why
event and then came in fifth place with a 607 foot throw. And then Luke
That's
Taylor.
incredible.
So cool.
Anything over
All the
600,
pros
but
and
I
then
have
Mikey.
to just like, what was the winning distance for MPO?
670.
670?
Well, yeah, let me get to FPO first, then we can
Okay.
cover it. 2024 champion Taylor Chokik or
Oh yeah, it's Disc Tag.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
the-
this she's the
How do you pronounce it? Choshay?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Chokik, I'm gonna say.
Okay. You
I
were
don't
very
know.
confident with it, Josh. But yes,
But yeah,
yeah, she just won an
Disc
ATO as
Tay
well.
is
Well,
her
I was saying
Instagram
her
username,
Instagram because she posts a lot on Instagram. That's where I first recognized her from.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and she's a super athlete, so it's cool to see her get into disc golf. Ellie Ezra, middling with 491, second place, and then Ella Hansen, 479, to in third place. Okay, so they qualified. I'm getting mixed, but yeah, these were the final results. But I guess to get to there, they had to qualify, and Jasper Till threw 7-10 to make it to the finals. So
I forget how they throw there. Does anybody know? Are they throwing on flat? I forget. I mean, I presume.
They
think
did
so.
the it's a flat ground. I think it's all grass and kind of like a wide. I don't even want to say tee pad, just wide. Assuming they've done it in years past, because it's been a big event that has the whole editing and whatnot and going on YouTube.
Yep.
But they had like the race drone going through it in years past, getting speed on throws. Very cool. Overthrow Josh says downhill 20 feet. Well, that explains the distances then. No, I'm just kidding. That's incredible.
I was going to say that's basically. I mean, obviously that does help, but that's not much.
Yeah, if you throw far enough. So maybe if you reach 600 feet, then you get a little extra bit.
Yeah,
I don't know quite.
Yeah, maybe you get an extra 10 feet on the throw.
But hey, those are bombs.
But who's this Jasper? Does anybody know who it is?
I do. He's just like a younger kid from Charlotte, North Carolina, I believe, or around there. Just a younger kid and throws bombs. And I guess Mikey from Overthrow threw 652 in round 1.
That's incredible. I can barely or maybe not even throw 652 in 2 throws. I don't think I can throw it in 2 throws. That's maybe best case. 2 throws, I'm getting there.
I don't know. That's incredible. It's easy for us just to acknowledge these top pros and even say it's incredible, and then you're like, actually stop for a second and think about how far they're throwing a disc. That is ridiculous, especially when Ben's just like, I don't know, he's just some young kid who can bomb. And I'm like, yeah, 700 feet?
I only
That's
know him
all.
because he throws far. Like, I've just seen him play.
I guess so. All right, before we go to Pop, Drop, Lock, Evan, did you have anything else you wanted to do?
I want to bring up this fun little tidbit that Josiah Zuzba, who does a lot, shares a lot of cool stats, but he's also one of the researchers in First Available Research. So with the survey that has come out, and I think it's well past officially closed now, but the data is getting aggregated, and some very cool stuff's going to come from that, of course. But Josiah kind of went down a rabbit hole, and I think this is like the coolest rabbit hole I've seen in a bit. He wanted to look through USDGC qualifying. Josh, you mentioned how it runs for really a whole calendar year to give spots into this event. And depending on the level of event, there's a different number of spots to be given out. Some, it might be the top 4 who have yet to qualify for USDGC will earn a spot. Some events where maybe it's a little bit smaller, it'll only be the top 1. But what Josiah did is go through all the events that give qualification, and he wanted to do a what if you just barely miss qualification on every single time. Like, how good of a season would you have had? So what he did is you literally tied for the last spot, and then you presumably would go to a playoff for the USDGC spot, and you lost every single time. Like, what a heartbreak in this scenario. First of all, like just missing out on USDGC qualifying, but you were so incredibly close. But how good of a season you would have in doing this. And he calculated it to roughly, I don't know if he was doing this by hand, but Pro Tour points are kind of hard to do without a computer to do all the tiebreaker scenarios and when points are split across multiple places. So he did, I think, rough math here. I don't want to undersell what the level he put this to, but he would say after including drop events, you only can count so many in the Pro Tour standings, you would get around 875 points, which is approximately tied with Kyle Klein and would be 10th. And that means going into the Pro Tour Championship, which you would qualify for that, but not USDGC, you would have a 5-stroke advantage going into the Pro Tour Championship. You'd actually be a 2-time Elite Series winner on the season because Waco and Austin were not USDGC qualifiers. You would finish in top 10 in 44% of major and Elite Series events on the year. And you would finish in top 20 in 76% of those. You also would have gotten a few podiums at Krokel and Copenhagen. And then, that's about it. But I just thought that was so neat of how good of a season you'd have and just miss out on USDC qualification. So just wanted to share that fun thing real quick.
Yeah, that's
That was a
interesting.
sick
I guess
stat.
what'd you say, Ben?
I said that was a 6 stat. That's such a random stat, but I love it.
Yeah, it's random, and it shows like how good players are that are making it in, right? I mean, that's another reason I keep adding up the reasons, but why the event has a lot of prestige. I mean, we see this at other events, but often people get in, but here it's like look up and down those who are entered. And you may see some names that you feel are somewhat abstract and random, but even they get qualified for a reason, or obviously NFL may put them in as an exemption. But a lot of great names. A lot
Yeah,
of great names.
and just to add on a little bit, I mean, because USDGC qualification as the season goes on, I mean, you could say it gets easier. It might actually be harder, but because once people qualify, those spots then move down. So an event early in the year, if you finish fifth, you might miss out because it only gives 4. But an event later in the year, you could finish all the way in 71st and get a bid. And that Eli Swanson at the Green Mountain Championship finished 71st and got a invite. Of course, you got to qualify for the Green Mountain Championship, which is a pretty good accomplishment for Pro Tour standings to get that ability. But, for the most part, you're finishing top 30, top 20 or even top 10, even in late events to get that. Yep. And while we're on the subject too, neat fact is all USDGC champions receive invites for, I believe, their life. Maybe it's a set amount of time, but it's quite a while.
It's their life, because maybe you're going to say who's entering the event this year that's on one of those qualifications.
Gannon Burr.
Yeah, Kyle Klein as well from last year. Gannon Burr from 2 years ago.
Paul Macbeth.
I got that down. Paul Macbeth's another one. I mean, like Steve Brinster has played. He played last year. I haven't checked registration this year for like the full field. But like I would assume that he's playing again. He usually makes the trip down. But Josh, the one that you're kind of poking out that I was going to get to was Nate Doss, who played Beaver State Fling early this year. I think he was on the second feature card, I believe. Maybe not his event by his career standards, but certainly an accomplishment for, really being retired at this stage and being what so many fans, and I think we mentioned this going into Beaver State, so many people in disc golf who are new to the sport, 5 years or less, which is a lot of people, see Nate Doss as just a commentator, and they might have all sorts of opinions on Nate Doss as a commentator, but that's what they know him as. But meanwhile, Nate Doss and Ben, we were just talking about a couple weeks ago when he, won so many worlds and in career levels compared to Gannon Burr. But 3-time world champion, won USDGC in a certain year that I have right here, 2008. And so quite the career, and he earns a USDGC invite for this year, and he plans on playing.
That's sick.
Yeah, that's interesting. That makes me think like how many players are in this event that have won before. So let's just try to figure it out on the fly. So we just said Doss, Barry Schultz,
Schustrick,
Feldberg,
Conrad.
Coling. Wait, hold on. Is Schustrick registered?
Oh, you're saying
that's what I'm asking. Who's actually in the event?
Well, Conrad.
So Coling.
You could say Conrad, Klein.
I presume. Yep, Conrad, Klein, Sexton, Gannon Burr.
Paul Macbeth.
I'm up.
Did
I say him already?
Dickerson yet?
No, probably not.
Castro.
Dickerson. Like it's pretty crazy,
that
actually.
Might be it. That might be all 14. I'm trusting you with that 14 number.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of those names I just rattled off, they would have qualified because of performance, but not all of them. And that's kind of fun because a few of them aren't even touring or trying to compete, but yet they qualified because they have a history here of winning or have won, and that's kind of cool. That's quite a few names now that we think about it that way. I said there's only 14 unique winners, right? So actually, we should reverse the question before we move on to Pop Drop Lock. Who is not playing that has won before? Ken Climo.
Will Schuster.
All right, I got the whole list of winners by the first year they won. So Climo, is Schultz playing?
Yes.
He is? Feldberg?
Yeah.
Doss.
Yeah, these were all the names I was just listing.
Okay, so then Schustrick and then Brinster would be the only other question.
I think it's just Brinster, Schustrick, and Climo are not.
Oh, Brinster's not playing. Oh, man.
Oh, I don't think so. Actually, I guess I don't. Oh, I'm wrong.
No, he is playing.
He is. So now, is it only Climo and Schuster?
Yeah, and Schuster played it last year. I'll look this up real quick.
Yeah, I don't see him on the registration.
Yeah, he's not this year, but
anyway, we're belaboring little points, but it's interesting. I mean, out of all the event winners of the history of this event in 24 years. There's only 2 players who have won before who are not playing.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. And like you said, I remember Climo had like a partial round completed a couple years back, I think. And then Schustrick, like you said, played. So like, it's kind of neat. Wouldn't it be epic if we could somehow get all 14 back like some year? It'd just be kind of cool.
That'd be pretty cool. I feel like hitting a mile. I mean, just had the 25th, but hitting a milestone year, that's something where it's like, okay, let's do a little extra work and get those players back. That'd be cool. But I mean, I guess related to 25th last year, I'm curious if it's happening again this year, if anyone has info for me. But they did the skins match last year with the icons, which, what was it? Was that Climo, Schultz? Was it Felberg and Sexton? It was something like that. It was definitely Climo and a few others, and they played a 9-hole skins match, and I thought that was awesome. I'd love to see more things like that personally, and I feel like this event with the history is a great place to do that. So if it is happening again, I'm curious, and someone throw it my way. If not, then maybe we'll see it again someday.
All right, so we're about to go with our picks now that we've talked a lot about one of the premier events. Hey, but before we just talked this event up a lot, talked about the unique history, how every single year, like there's something unique. You want to watch this event. But if you want to watch it live or anytime close to live, even post-produced, DGN Pro subscription is required. And I don't have the details right in front of me, so sorry, you can go look it up. They're sending plenty of emails. They're posting all over social media. Don't be surprised. And like it or not, obviously some of you are going to be frustrated, but even being a PDGA membership, you get a discount. There's lots of ways to go at this. But with one of the premier events, again, one of the unique things that USDGC has done is over the years, they've tested different media plans, and they've kind of fought against some years of live versus post-produced and different ways to get behind a paywall or not. They've tried lots of things, and so don't be surprised. This event is asking you to pay to watch it, and they're obviously providing that through DGN. So if you already have a subscription, you're in, which is awesome. If not, make sure you upgrade to Pro. Truthfully, if you're into the sport and you're looking for this solid entertainment, even if you don't want to watch live, but you want to watch Jomez post-produced, and you don't want to wait like weeks on end, then just pony up. It's like, going to the movies once, something like that. But anyway, just reminding everybody.
Pony up, baby.
I bet most of you watching or listening, it's worth it to you, because if you're listening to our show, then come on, follow USDGC. Even if you're upset about it, feel free to voice your concerns, but yeah, just pay, watch it. It's going to be awesome. Remember the final round? How many years ago was it now when it was downpouring and like Calvin had the rollaway on 17?
Oh my goodness.
My point is you want to watch live. This event always has stuff happening. You got to watch it.
Yeah, I feel like we've been lucky the last few USDGCs, like maybe since that year, where the weather has been pretty good, like and not a lot of wind. I mean, I don't feel like being an open course, I feel like we don't see like crazy winds here, at least not in recent years. But I feel like we almost always get a downpour day, and we haven't had that too recently. So fingers crossed for good weather at this event. At least, I mean, as a viewer, I like good weather. Maybe some people are, I don't know, wanting the toughest conditions, but we'll let that.
I like good weather.
We'll let that be for other people. A quick update on the final or the 9-hole skins that I mentioned. It was Schustrick as that fourth. It was Climo, Schultz, Schustrick, and Sexton.
Not a bad foursome.
Yeah, not bad at all.
All right. Well, I think because we're a little bit of an off week, we don't have our fancy music to bring us into Pop Drop Lock. But Ben, in the old days, you used to give us like, your own acoustic voice. But
Yep. No, that was the Home Depot theme song.
wrong.
I knew it was something else.
But anyway, Pop Drop Lock.
Presented by Hooligan.
Presented by Hooligan. Yes, I was just showing my hat. I love wearing it. Obviously, right now I've got the Statmando repping. But Hooligan has been great to sponsor Pop Drop Lock. We've had a lot of fun this year. I actually think, of course, we're going to talk about this next week, so we're not done talking it, but this is our last week of picks. The championship is off of the board, obviously, with the unique style of that event to just have chosen not to push it into pop drop lock. We will revisit this game in the off season. We'll talk about it some. There's probably lots of cool ways we could tweak or adjust or take this. But for now, we've got 2 big events to pick and looking forward to it. And look, there's still bragging rights on the line, but I think technically anybody could probably still catch, but the most realistic catch is Matt could pass Ben for the season lead. But that's a tough. I mean, that would be like a big score. That'd be pretty epic. That'd be like a
I want to win
fourth
so
quarter
bad.
comeback.
What do I need? Like 550 points to catch Ben?
Let me actually see. I don't have it up, but it'll take me like.
Did
4
Matt give
seconds
you
to get it.
his picks,
Yes.
Josh? Okay, good.
Yes. Yeah. But he told me just to load him later in the site so that he can game the game and win. In the end, no matter what. So.
I don't know what that means.
No.
But
he's trying to cheat. No, I'm joking.
I'm only going to state now.
Yes,
we're going to do.
You're 500 back of 4th place.
Only 500.
Wait, what do
not
I get? I should
550.
get like a trophy.
Oh,
or
no.
something. Come on
Hold
now.
on. I'm wrong.
If I win.
Evan, you're 223 points behind Nick for 4th place.
Oh my goodness, that's bad.
So
How far am I
you
from
could-
Ben though?
Oh, I guess I'd have to do the math. I think it's 757.
Oh my goodness.
Yikes.
Woo! Talk about a letdown of a year. Oh man.
Well, you did one hand tied behind your back, and you paid the
I
price. So.
willingly though,
Yeah.
and I'm not a quitter. I'm not a quitter. Even when that, I mean, it wasn't a strategy. It was a intentional,
Terrible strategy.
hand behind the back that ended up being really 2 hands behind the back and walking on my knees. So.
So Matt is 114 behind you, Ben. And so if he picks the right pop or drop,
Yes.
right, like that scenario, he could. It's very doable. Although this late in the season, if you're out there and pop drop lock, and again anybody, it's not too late. Literally play the last week with us. Get out there, create a username for free, log in, do it. Thanks to Hooligan. We give away a prize. It's fun, but just get out there and do it. But you notice like it is harder as the year goes because we're using a rolling average and the field's getting tight, and it's like who you
And
gonna
there's less
pick, right?
people
'Cause-
playing in these events, which makes it even.
everything's like super tight, which kind of makes it fun. But I think the margins are harder. It'll be hard for Matt to catch. But why don't we go through and give our picks? And for no other reason than it's in front of me, why don't we go in reverse order of ranking? So Evan, you're up.
All right. Well, first of all, without the fancy format, and I didn't think Matt's picks were going to get in, going to officially change
have
up
them, so it's up to you.
but we're still going to do it. We're going to do it for the fun. And one last week of taking somebody's pops as my drops. And I went from Ben for a lot of the season to Matt for a lot of the season, which was just terrible choices because they were 1 and 2. So let's go. Let's go 3 and 4. Actually, I just want to take Nick's actually because he's 4th place. I want to catch up. So I'm going to make the decision there. I'm going to take Nick's drops.
All right.
I was going to make it a fun thing between, I mean, it was going to be like a finger behind, 1 or 2 behind my back, and you had to guess which one. So we're just going to avoid that. I'll go with Nick's. And to go through my pops and my locks, I'm going to go Tuomas Haitanen as my pop, averaging 66th finish. Definitely like that. And then Gannon Burr as my lock for USDGC. I didn't even use up all my Gannon Burr picks. I got 1 left after this, so that's on me. But, I don't know. It's tough picking a lock again, and the lock's not like I definitely think Gannon's going to win, but I think Gannon is definitely the best pick to finish top 10 at the minimum. So I feel like that's a pretty clear pick from my point of view. And then at throw pink, my pop, I'm going maybe the ultimate pop from last year, which was Elias Midling, who came from, no one knowing your name maybe the week before to pushing. I don't know if she was on final round league card. I forget. I think she finished 10th overall, but still had a lot of coverage for a name that we didn't even know, and then spent 2024 as a rookie season on tour, averaging 19th on the season. So if she gets top 10, that's a nice 9 points. I think she can even do better. Of course, the distance is helpful here. And then my lock, the podium from last year, which was Holland Hanley in first, won in a playoff over Kristen Tatar in second, and Evelina Salonen in third, actually tied with Hannah Blomers. Maybe I should have just done that. I was about to say I couldn't do the podium, so I had to really think. And I really did think about Hannah Blomers, but I'm going Silva Saarinen. Oh, so close at GMC. Goes to the playoff with Christian Tatar. Not the best MVP, but when I think about Winthrop, I think about playing smart, keeping it safe, making your putts. Sounds exactly like Silva Sarnen. So feeling good there.
You're saying she's not the best MVP player?
She does sponsored by MVP, but at the MVP Open, I forget where she finished exactly, but I know she had a tough couple rounds out there. So just saying that I think she will rebound from that event and have a good event here. So Pops TBD once we give out Nick's picks, but you'll know what they are once we hear them.
Yeah. So I'll go through Nick's. So his pop for USDGC, Albert Tom. Not bad. His drop, Eagle McMahon. Interesting. We've seen Eagle up and down, I think, throughout the year. Maybe that's what he's playing and hoping for. Somebody who has a decent average finish, but he thinks will fall off. And then his lock, no surprise, Paul Macbeth. So apparently he had saved some picks for his lock there. And so obviously that pop, Albert Tom, that's for you, Evan. So
yep.
For throw pink, what we have for his pop is Chantel Budinsky. His drop, Henna Blomroos. After all your talk about like she might take it down, Nick is not officially betting, but he's betting otherwise. And then FPO lock, Anakin Kristen Steen, who we've had seen some great performances, and I don't think a very particularly strong weekend last weekend either. But again, to your point, rebounding this event may offer some opportunity there. So
yeah, and what I'm 200 and something behind Nick.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, but I'm feeling good. I can get a nice 150 and he can get a nice
I'm so
80,
nervous.
85.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's keep it moving on to the people who had good seasons. We don't need to dwell on me and Nick.
Well, I'm mediocre, so here I'm just going to rattle through them. My pop is Paul Macbeth as well. Drop is Aaron Gossage. Boy, he could perform well here, but I don't know. Just you got to sometimes risk it. And then my lock is Isaac Robinson. I don't know. I think he could take it down. Talk about not being shy of a major.
Can I interrupt your picks real quick, or should I interrupt afterwards?
No, go ahead. Whatever.
I think it's incredible Isaac Robinson's track record at USDGC. This was maybe the first. I think it was the first MPO major he played. I'm not sure if it was the first major or elite series in MPO he played, but he's been playing it since 2018, well before he started touring. Every single year he's played this event, he has finished better than his previous year. And maybe this is what you're going for, Josh, if you looked into it, or if you just felt like he was,
No, I don't remember exactly where he finished, but yes, I know that this is a strong event for him.
First year finished 61st. Next year, that's 2018. Next year, 2019, 21st. 2020, he finished 15th. 2021, he finished 8th. Now he's getting a high, and he continues to do better. 2022, he was 6th. 2023, he was 3rd. So I don't know. By that logic, maybe he doesn't win, Josh, but he's finishing 2nd, which is still a pretty good pick. But
yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Second or first,
just getting comfortable with majors, right? That's like that's a thing. So for throw pink, I have my pop is Kona Star Montgomery, and then drop is Ella Hansen. I feel like I put her in my drop a lot, and she makes me pay. She's a good player, but for some reason, I'm just thinking of all the OB there. Big arm, maybe she pays the price. And my lock is Holland Hanley. So we'll see how that goes down. She's obviously took down this event before, and that's my pick. All right, so Ben, I've got Matt's picks, and then we're going to have you do the grand reveal for yours because that'll make all the difference in the end. So here's Matt's picks. And remember, I am sure part of his strategy is he has to pick desperate, right? This is kind of like you call it the Hail Mary, which is it may not always be the best play because actually it ends in an interception quite often. But you go for the Hail Mary, right? I'm sure these are why he's picked some of these names. His pop is Connor O'Reilly. And his drop is Matt Bell. And his lock is Niklas Antilla, who has also played well there before.
Yes,
right? He's had a chance to win. So, like, I think that's, we'll see. We'll see how Matt performs. And then in throw pink, pop. Ooh, is this strategy at all? I don't know. Madison Walker. Dun, dun, dun.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so now you got to decide. You have time to switch it before you verbalize it. His drop is Leaky Lorentzen. And his lock is Evelina Salonen, who has had a great year, also not shy from these big events. Not officially a major, but I'm sure she could perform well out here. So So that's what we got, and we have one more set of names to rattle off. So Ben, you want to give it to us?
Yeah, I'm not gonna switch it because I feel like that'd be unfair. But here's my question: can I pick someone who qualified? It's not on the site.
I had that question too, and I
'Cause
just
I
played
wanna
it safe and didn't do it.
I want to pick Drew Gibby.
Boy, it's tough. It's not in the site, so I think we have to say no. Like you can't. Like I understand he's in the event, but how are we gonna like pick him when no one
This is
else
tough.
listening to the show can pick him?
Yeah, this is I mean,
I
Well,
understand what
Shrek can
you're saying. I
update it
don't know what to
tonight,
say.
and then
can he though? Poor Shrek, we're making him work overtime.
all right. Well,
That's a tough question. I think this is where like let's play a provisional.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna say. Provisional. You got to have an actual pick, but we'll put Drew on the side. And if Drew's the difference in the end, then we'll have you and Matt like arm wrestle for it or something. So
okay, my provisional pop, and this is a scary one, is Paul Macbeth.
Oh,
I'm a little
that's who I
scared.
picked. That's not that scary.
Yeah,
That's who I picked.
I'm scared in the sense that like he's great and he's been playing really well recently. I'm just afraid that like you never know, he could get that like random 60th, but he's Paul Macbeth, so I'm pretty confident. My drop is going to be Luke Humphreys. I'm glad Matt didn't pick that again. My lock is Paul Macbeth. So in provisional Paul Macbeth, by the way. And then my pop is Madison Walker. Not going to change it. My drop is Rebecca Cox. And drum roll, my lock is Evelina Salonen. Yes.
nice.
This is the same pick he had.
Which honestly I need. Like if I have two, so he only has 4 people to be moving. The drop FPO, let's just call it a wash. Like if that FPO was the hardest thing to get points on.
Well, Connor O'Reilly, if he wins the event, he gives Matt 68 points. So not bad.
Yeah. So and then who do you pick for drop? I don't even know. I forget. But anyways, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. If Paul plays well, then I should be able to secure the dub and get the big pop drop lock trophy right behind me
Very cool.
very soon.
All right. Well, like I said, get out there. Thanks to Shrek for building this for us. Thanks for everybody playing along. We'll talk about this more in the following weeks. This is the last week to pick, though. So if you want to join us, get out there and do it for fun. Thanks to Hooligan. Again, it's been really fun to explore a new game with kind of some new challenges, some new strategy, and I'm sure we can refine it. So thanks, everybody, for playing along. Yes. Ben, give us the outro music. Boom. Dun, 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 dun,
dun. Pop, drop,
awesome.
lock. Yeah.
Gotta get that Home Depot sponsorship.
Hey, yeah, if they want to send us.
Sorry, not to undersell the Hooligan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, shout out Hooligan. We love you. You're the best.
Yes.
Wait, but real quick on Hooligan. They're about to drop their new Yeet on their new manufacturer very soon. I believe it's either the 13th or the 16th. Obviously, the Yeet, that's their first disc, their most popular disc. It's their Destroyer. So October 13th, 6 p.m. CST. So go check it out. That was my first tour series. So go support Hooligan. Thank you.
Very cool. 6 days from now. Mark it down. Put it on your calendar.
Yes.
All right, so we've talked lots of USDGC, pretty much over an hour. We snuck a few other topics in there, but good stuff. Again, DGN Pro, watch it. Starts on Thursday. But interesting time of year. It also feels like the season is, it doesn't quite feel like it's winding down because we literally have 2 giant events in front of us. But practically speaking, right, the regular tour season is over. You're capping off with a major, and then only a smaller subset of the field, albeit the best, are heading to a championship. Sure, we'll sneak some A tiers and other events, right? Evan will keep us posted, but practically speaking, we're done, which is crazy. I don't know. You're in the middle of the season, and it feels like it's just a slog with a lot of events. But then when you're here in October, you're like, where did it go? We don't even know what year it is, right, Evan? It's like we're losing track. It's crazy.
We do not.
But I wanted to just look back a little bit now that we have the Pro Tour standings are solidified. There's no more movement, right? I mean, you can have a player win the championship, but there's no more points to accrue. USDGC points do not add up to the Pro Tour points, primarily because I think the event's after the Pro Tour ends. But I just wanted to talk through a little bit about some players and performances from last year to this year. And I'm not doing any like, Evan, you're better at the games and quizzes and all that. Although maybe I'll kind of have fun just with some dialogue. And we're not going to make this incredibly long, but I want to actually like talk through it some because I think it's pretty interesting. So we good for that?
Let's do it.
All right. So I took a look at all the players who qualified for the championship, the Pro Tour Championship this year and last year, and just compared their movement, across those two seasons. Like if they performed in third place last year and moved to first place this year, right, then I would say, all right, they increased, right, or they went up 2 spots. If they went the other way around, then I would say they, moved down or whatever it is. So out of all of those top players, so in MPO, you've got 32. Well, actually, again, if you actually count both seasons, because some people moved in and out, you've got 41 MPO players, and in FPO, you've got 29 players total. In MPO, out of, let's see, the players who are in that top this season. Hold on, I'm counting real time here. 10 players out of the 32 improved on their performance from the year prior. Who do you think was the biggest improver? Which I know is like a totally like open-ended question, which is really hard, but just think about some of the names. In fact, here, make it a little bit easier because they're familiar names. The top 11 in Pro Tour points. Someone in the top 11 is actually the biggest mover from last year to this year. Any thoughts on who it might be?
I got a guess.
Okay, I'm not going to drag it out, but yeah, go right ahead.
Well, I'm going to give Ben just like a few more seconds to guess. I'm not like, sometimes I know the answer because I already like did research similar.
Yeah.
But I don't like, I have a good guess. I don't think I'm like breaking the game or anything.
Can you just
not even keeping score?
It just explain to me in like 10 seconds real quick.
Yeah, literally, I would say of anybody who's in the top 11 right now, Ben. So my point is, these are names you'd know, right? If you think of top 11, Gannon Burr, Ricky, Niklas, and on down the list. So literally the top 11, one of those players is literally the biggest improver from last year of anybody. So let me tell you, like Gannon Burr last year was 3rd place, and he's in 1st place. So congrats to him.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I get
Are you doing it just on rank or number of points?
Yeah, just literally rank. Just rank, not points.
Okay.
Literally,
isn't that the same
did they
thing?
finish in last year? Well, it is, unless not necessarily.
You can move up 30 spots or 500 points, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Could
All right,
change different ways.
I'm going to go ahead and spit it out unless you all, because I'm not keeping
Well,
score for
I'll
anything.
go ahead and guess it then and see if Ben gets it too. But I think I'm pretty confident it's Joseph Anderson.
Yeah, it is, which is why I picked the 11th instead of top 10.
Yeah, and that's what I thought you're going for too.
Well, it's because again, I wasn't trying to really make it complicated or obfuscated. I'm not actually trying to stump you because, like, listen to this. Joey Buckets finished in 11th place this year. Last year, he was in 61st place. Now, we interviewed him on this show, but moving up 50 spots in the end of the season Pro Tour rankings is quite a bit. That's pretty incredible. But here's a question. Who do you think performed better this year compared to last year? Ben, is it Niklas Antila or Paul Macbeth? Both played better this year than last year.
Yep.
But which of them jumped up higher in comparison?
Paul. I think Paul.
Evan, you feel that way?
Their improvement?
Yeah, their improvement year over year. Which one improved more than the other, Niklas or Paul? So you're literally trying to think of the last 2 seasons for both of them.
Yeah, Paul, because he played so many Euro Tour events last year. I mean, but Niklas kind of played those same events. I think Niklas finished higher last year, so I think my guess is Paul Macbeth.
So it's interesting. So listen, Paul finished in 6th place this year, but it was only 23rd last year. So he improved by 17 spots this year, but Niklas improved by 23 spots.
Oh, man.
He was 26th last year, and he's 3rd this year.
I thought he was a little bit higher last year, but I mean, Third's a great finish, and I definitely knew he improved, but that's more than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's interesting when you look at the numbers. We
I
know
knew he
Niklas
finished
is a
third,
great
but
player, right? We know he's a great player before, but like even somebody like Paul, you're like, oh, he finished 23rd last year, but 6th this year, right? Like just it's interesting to see kind of some of these moves. Now you obviously have a lot of players who stay fairly stagnant, right? Like you've got Calvin last year in first and fourth this year, Gannon third last year, first this year, Ricky right fourth and second. So a lot of kind of like marginal movement right at the very top, but Niklas easily your largest jumper. Paul Macbeth jumping in there, Joey Buckets with a move of 61. Gavin Babcock moved up 22 spots.
Yep, he had a great year.
Yeah, great season, finishing 14th this year. And then even like Gavin Rathbun, we heard him a lot early in the season. I'd have to see what he's done late in the season, but he jumped up 41 spots this year, finishing in 18th place.
He's been doing really well ever since it's a tough injury to come back from, and he's been killing it. I mean, I was looking at last year's USDGC stats, and he came in like dead last with or it was like close last with like plus 30. Yeah. So like,
which is
what an
brutal.
improvement to this year.
So there's a lot of other names that are interesting. We're not going to go through every one, but what about we're not trying to call out the players, but it is a storyline. Who do you think maybe is the potential? I know this is like a shot in the dark. Who's the biggest negative mover? What that means is like last year they were in the championship, okay, and this year they're out of the championship. And like, how far down did they slide? Who slid the furthest?
Just of anyone who made the Pro Tour Championship last year.
Yeah. So that I would have looked at the top 32 last year.
Because somebody like Brody Smith had a tough year, but he didn't make the Tour Championship.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Last year.
Yeah, exactly. So not him. I'm not talking about biggest mover in the total rankings.
Gotcha.
It's the biggest mover of people who are in the top 32.
I have my guess. Ben, do you want a chance for a guess, or do we want to blurt out what I think it's going to be?
Dude, let me get a chance, but I'd have to see it in front of me. I don't even know.
I know it's hard. That's why I'm not trying to like drag it out, because it's almost impossible shot in the dark. So either have fun spitting out a name, or I'm gonna get Evan's guess.
Okay, give me 5 seconds. 5.
Yep.
Dude,
Somebody did really good last year who did not have as good a year this year.
Emerson Keith.
That's fine. I mean, a shot in the dark guess is like really
shot in the dark.
To be honest.
Emerson Keith made the Tour Championship this year, and I don't remember if he made it last
year.
year.
Hey, but Ben, kudos to you. He did perform worse by 3 spots.
He made it last year,
so he did go down. So you're in the right ballpark. But someone went down like a lot more than that. Evan, did you have a name before?
I think it's Nicola Castro.
Yeah, so you nailed it, actually.
Dang.
But listen to this. He finished in 28th last year, so he snuck in, if you want to say that, right? I mean, he earned it. But this year, 83rd place.
Yeah, so, really just a tough year for him.
Yeah, tough year. So again, I'm not calling out like Nico saying like boo on you, but just saying, yeah, that's a narrative this year. That's a story. We have a past U.S. champion. Obviously, it was many years ago at this point, right? But we see him bump up and down, but that's like a significant shift. I'm just going to give you a couple other names where we saw a really significant change. And just think about all the implications, because sometimes we don't talk about these players. But these players are still grinding, and you talk about the physical and emotional stress, maybe the monetary stress, future decisions of these players either staying on the tour or not, right? These could all be underlying things when you really see. Now, again, it could just be an off year, so I don't want to be like overly dramatic, right? Maybe somebody had an injury and they're back next year strong as ever. Anyway, it's interesting because sometimes we just don't talk about these names as much. Chris Clemens moved 36 spots down the board. Kevin Jones, 27 spots sliding down the board. Alden Harris, who we just talked to 2 weeks ago, almost tried to jump back into the championship, but still had a much worse year on average.
Yeah.
27 slots down. I mean, finished 13th last year, right? This year, 40th. James Conrad, Eagle McMahon's on the list. Maybe we could argue why, but regardless, he still slid down from 5th to 28th. And by the way, all of some of these names, like Ezra Aderhold made the championship, didn't make it this year. Ben Calloway made it, didn't make it this year. Bradley Williams made it last year, didn't make it this year.
Oof.
So what's interesting about those, right, is like these were people who made the championship, and it's got to be a little bit of a sore spot for them to not make the championship the next year. and they're probably not surprised about it because as the year unfolded, they could see where they're sitting. But again, yeah, James Conrad made it, didn't make it. So pretty interesting. Kevin Jones, Chris Clemens, Nico. I want to talk a little bit about FPO, and then we'll probably wrap this. So on FPO, we have only one name, unless I'm misinterpreting the stats, who this season, hold on, I got to move it on my screen. This season finished in the top, what's the top for women? 20?
Top 20.
Yep. So finished in the top 20 this season, but did not even have a ranking last season.
Oh,
In the
And
top
so
20?
Yeah, so in other words, this year she's in the championship.
So that's
Eliezer Ra.
it's not Eliezer Midland because she's not in the top
What?
20.
No.
oh,
Yeah, because Eliezer did not,
But-
she's not in the championship this year. So I'm
Dang
saying
it.
this player
But
is in the
that's
championship.
shocking.
Qualify for
Now,
that.
by the way, Evan, I'm probably pulling a you. I know how you feel. It's like as soon as I say the stat and you all react, I'm like, now I'm second guessing myself, right?
Yeah, but okay.
I think I'm right. I think I'm right.
I'm gonna believe that you're right. I'm gonna work this out. Ben, you can guess as I'm working this out too. If you beat me to it, you beat me to it. But I think it's a European who just didn't. Oh, but then the silver events for the Euro Tour last year.
Silva Sadanin. Emily Weatherman. Thanks, chat. That's my guess.
Oh, that's got to be
Thanks, chat.
it. That's it. Dang it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I have like
Great job, chat and Ben.
I have a middle school boy in my house, and like they use like right now the word chat is like slang like everywhere. So like when you just said thanks chat, like I had to place it that you were
PTSD.
really saying thanks to the chat.
Here's your chicken and broccoli. Thanks, chat.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Emily Weatherman is the answer. That's right. And
Yeah,
so if my stats are right, which they should be, like literally, right? That's
no.
crazy.
Her first, I'm certain that she didn't. I mean, I'm pretty sure she didn't. I mean, because the stat is right, I'm actually certain. But she didn't play any silver events last year. But I do know her first major NFPO first major or Elite Series event was this year.
Yep.
So
Other names that were the biggest movers. I'm not going to make you guess up and down the list, but do you want to just throw one or two that you think might be on the list of the biggest movers? Like, in other words, who last year,
Could it be like
not as
70
great
to
of a
12?
year, but they
70
popped
to
off
40?
this year?
I'm
in
gonna
comparison.
go Ben's guess. Silva Sarnen
Yeah,
might
so that's
be the
next.
most.
So
that made
that's the
Tour
biggest
Championship.
mover numerically because there's no way to actually estimate how much Emily would have moved. So, yeah, at the top of the list is Silva. 39th last year, 13th this year. Pretty big deal. And another European, Anakin.
Yep.
Next
Okay.
biggest mover. 32 last year to 10th this year. Another European,
If you
Evelina.
Yeah, because she either didn't make
25th
it out or
last
was
year.
okay. Yeah, didn't make it last year.
Well, yeah, 25th last year, 5th this year. And then we see a little bit of a return of Paige Pierce, which is great to see, finishing in 14th this year, but 33rd last year. And so, yeah, wow, let me actually just out of some of the top 10 movers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are European. So that's kind of cool to see, which is why I think we feel that parity in FPO. We know it. These names are a commonplace now. I didn't mention Heidi Line also improved by 12 spots, and Hina Blomroos improved by 11. And then you have Natalie Ryan, who it's interesting. We all know the narrative, so we don't need to beat around it, but I actually kind of played around with the numbers and just acknowledge I did this on purpose because in 2023, last year, right, Evan, finished 41st on the Pro Tour, and there are probably lots of reasons for that. This year finished 8th. But I went back a year to see, and in 2022, she finished in 9th place and finished 8th. So with a more full season, that's where we see that kind of falling. But lots of movement there. What about, first of all, any reactions to any of those names, or you want me to look at the bottom half of the movers, which is pretty drastic in the other way?
Let's go to the bottom half of the movers.
So the storylines are really different here, obviously. But first of all, I'm going to jump right and cut to the chase on one of these. The biggest mover. So remember, Nico moved down 55 spots. What's really interesting is in FPO, the same biggest mover moved down 55 spots, which is kind of crazy.
What?
Wow.
55 in FPO?
Yeah, but the storyline's different. Okay, the storyline is different. You'll know right away. Macy Vela Diaz.
Okay,
Oh.
that
Right?
was
So the
gonna be my
storyline
guess.
is what? Had a child?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not necessarily the performance dropped off. But listen to this. Sarah Hokum. What's interesting about this is no surprise that she finished in 38th this year. just meaning performance and how many events she's competing in and choosing different divisions and all of that. But it's like, wow, it was only last year that she was in ninth. That's what actually surprised me about this, just how fast time flies. Sarah Hokum was ninth last year, and this year 38th.
Yeah,
Katrina Allen, another
and Josh,
story.
I don't know if you
Go
have
ahead.
total events played.
Not in front of me,
Okay,
unfortunately.
not to break up the subject, but like I'm immediately thinking like how
yeah,
like
that's a
points
big part.
over number of events played, but that would points include drops, so you can't actually do that. But like average event number of points, average points. I don't know. Again, it's Monday. Whew. Average points per event. There we go.
Yeah.
But like, did Sarah Hokum play less events
Exactly.
this year,
That's
or
yeah.
did she just
That's why I'm
miss
saying
out
these
on
stories-
those top finishes, which means so much because it's exponential? Lots of
Yeah,
questions.
in
but-
FPO, we see some different narratives, which is why I mentioned that. Like, because Macy, Sarah, Katrina Allen, Jennifer Allen, I think the reasons you see them dropping off are actually not just performance, although that may be part of it, right? It's also what their focus was right throughout the year based on lots of other life factors. But then you do have some other players who did drop, who probably are more like consistently on the tour, and I'm not aware of any like outside factors. Haley King went down by 5 spots, but still a fine year. But Holly Finley dropped from 16th to 26th. And so she made the Pro Tour Championship and didn't make it this year. Allie Smith, same thing, made it last year, didn't make it this year. Maria Oliva, same thing. Stacy Ronsley, yeah, same thing, made it last year, did not make it this year. Jessica Weiss. So it's like, again, these are players, just when we think about, like, we've talked about this before, maybe it's a funny way to say it, but they're humans too, with like real goals and ambitions and emotions. And like, I'm sure we're not talking a lot about Allie Smith per se, but like for her, like, I don't know all the details and ins and out, right? But it's a big deal. It's just interesting to think about the narratives. Obviously, towards the top of we see all the new names popping up, and hey, it's a competitive field across the board. But just, I thought it was interesting to look. Sometimes I have to look at names and numbers to remind me of storylines, because otherwise we just hear what social media tells us about and what's happening on the network week in and week out. But when you look at the comparison year over year, you can see some things pop you might not see otherwise. But that's what I got.
Well, love it. That was super interesting, and that was fun. I like guessing those, and it takes some effort.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard when, like, I know
had to
because
scratch
usually
my
you're
brain.
grilling us, and when you're like, yeah, I'm trying to pull like a name out of like left field. It's hard, even though all I do from a sports standpoint is consume disc golf. The truth is, I'm not literally like an encyclopedia, and nothing makes you feel more stupid when it's like, what's the number one whatever, and I'm like, I can't even remember if he won an event 2 weeks ago. Like, that's the worst. But yeah, a lot of movement up and down, both sides. But yeah, talk about the European women, right? Lots of movement. I'm not going to keep going over every name. Simon Lizotte, big year last year. Played okay this year, but nowhere near as big. That's another one. Slid down 13.
You gotta
spots
win,
in
though.
the tour standings.
Speaking of years and just like totally forgetting, was last year the year that Simon won for? Or was that the
Correct.
year before?
I think it was last year.
That's why I'm saying I'm going to feel like an idiot when I get it wrong.
It was
Here I am
last year.
talking about disc golf. But
Okay.
Locking it
this
in.
one I
No,
know.
no,
Yeah,
no,
this
no,
one.
no, it wasn't. Was it? No, it wasn't. It was 2 years ago. Because Matteo won MVP.
I
last
think it
year.
was like Simon won MVP 2 years ago in 2022, but his big year was last year, I think. I'm looking it up right now.
Wait,
We're
I
gonna
thought
find it
MVP was
out.
part of that big 4-win season.
We're going to find it out. Oh, yes, Ben, you are right. It was 2 years ago. 2022, he won 4. Last year, 2023, he won Music City and D-Glow. This year, he won just Music City so far.
We're
Music
still
City
getting a win
champ.
on the Pro Tour. It's not like,
Yeah, Major League.
yeah, Simon's not in the world of hurt, but I'm sure from his standpoint and Stan perspective on the last couple of years, I mean, even again, like I said, just comparing Pro Tour, which doesn't, you can be pretty high on the Pro Tour points without a win, right? But Simon, on average, just some rough events. I mean, we talked about it even at MVP, which probably was a big contributor, right? It's a playoff designated event and had a terrible event. But
Yeah, that makes me think, how many in the top 10 didn't win this year? I think actually 4. I think I got my answer already. Paul McBeth didn't win this year. Ezra Robinson, Chris Dickerson, and Kyle Klein. But three of those are notable winners and major winners
In the past, yeah.
in the past.
But it is interesting
Ezra
if you think
Robinson's
about
knocking
that.
on the
Like
door
Chris
constantly.
Dickerson,
So
like what kind of year has he had? I mean, here's the point. He's actually had a pretty good year.
yeah,
But I'm gonna out myself or you're gonna agree with me, and I'm not sure which, because my perspective is talk about flying below the radar. Like how have we talked about
Flying
Chris like at all?
I
Barely.
think yeah, I think
But he's playing so well. It
Well,
makes
that's my
no
point.
sense.
But
Yeah.
that's
like-
why it's below the radar. That's what I mean. Like he's playing so well, but like we're
Yeah.
not talking about it.
Yeah, it's not
I-
not in contention or anything like that. Like
He's like literally probably like what, like third card, like every event.
like
and then
has he
sneaks
been
up
in
into-
contention? Like,
yeah, that's
like,
what
Probably
I want to look up
officially.
real quick. If you guys stall while I talk, I'm gonna look up
Okay.
how many lead card appearances
All right,
that
yeah,
Chris
do that,
Dickerson's had this year.
Because it can't be that many true lead card appearances. I'm telling you, I don't know how many times I've seen Chris play this year.
But he's playing solid.
Oh yeah, that's not a knock on him, right? It's actually like more of a knock even on us on the media side to be like, how do we miss it? But it does also tell you that like it's where he's performing, right? It's like just, which by the way is probably stuff that like sponsors and all that look for. And that's not a commentary on Chris. Like he's great, but I mean like you really have to be in the top tier before you get recognized. You either have to
Okay.
explode like Joey Buckets, who shows up on lead card coverage, or somebody like Chris who has a resume to carry with him. If you get stuck in that limbo, anybody else, it's really hard to like get recognized. What do you have the answer? Evan?
Yeah, so he only has one lead card appearance, and this does not include feature cards. Feature
Sure.
cards are round one, and
I don't think he's on many of those either.
human
though.
given, but yes, lead cards. So after round one, based on results, he only has one, and that was Music City for final round. And then he has 4 chase card appearances this year at major league events. But to your point of like, he is having a great season. He's not getting those wins or lead card appearances, so flying under the radar. And we all know what Chris Dickerson can do, but like I'm sorting by top 10s here. Okay, it's he right around probably 10th, 8 top 10s. But he only played 15 events. Like if you look at everyone who finished above him on the Pro Tour standings, like Ezra Robinson and Isaac Robinson played 19 events. And that's the fewest number of events played this season that are better than him in the points. So 4 more events played. That's like a wide margin. To go to anyone else who has 15 or fewer events, you have to go to Simon in 20th and then Evan Smith in 22nd to have someone who's played fewer number of events than Chris Dickerson. So again, that points per events logic, which
Yeah, it's interesting.
yeah, so you get 10 Elite Series events, 2 majors, and 2 playoff events. So that's 14, and there's no silver events this year. So he only had 1 event dropped all year, if that's correct. I mean, the Pro Tour site should show it nicely. But yeah, his only drop all year was Worlds, where he finished 11th. But that's not to say that obviously he could have had a bad Elite Series event that wouldn't be dropped, but it looks like chess.com 28th is his worst event. Yeah, that's incredible. Good for him.
Yep. Awesome. So there's so many other things to talk about, but I've got to leave some of it for true postseason, which we're not at official postseason yet. But I'm already looking over the horizon and see it coming. So I'm going to breeze over a few of those topics that I had on my kind of rough list. And Ben, I'm going to put you on the spot, which means I don't have an expectation here. I just like am genuinely curious. So if you're like, I got nothing, then that's fine. I spent time down at MVP Open at Maple Hill for about 2 days, but I was in and out. I had my kids shuttling back and forth to New Hampshire, etc. You were down there and spent a lot more time with players. You've obviously like built a lot of connections. I think you got some actual friendships. I'm sure there's kind of some business angles on some of those relationships, but just spending a good time, caddying, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I am just curious, and I think a lot of times viewers of our show, listeners to our show, who just don't have any close connections. This is an open-ended question. Do you have any insights that you picked up while spending time with them, from your perspective about touring players that our listeners may not know? And another way to ask this, is there anything that's surprised you? Rewind in your life 2.5 years ago. 3 years ago, maybe whatever it is. And now that you know these players, you're like, oh, that's not at all how I thought it went down. Like maybe the things they talk about, maybe what they do in the evenings, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe their perspective on the game or sponsorships. I'm just like, and the reason why I'm asking you is you literally have spent more time than even I have, and I'm curious your perspective. So you could take that any way you want.
Yeah, yeah. So I just had Linus Carlson. He just left this morning. So he's since
All right.
MVP, he stayed at my house. So I got to see even that, just like a full week in the life of a touring pro. I'd say the first thing I noticed is just how incredible their career is. I don't want to say life because like obviously like we all have great lives, but their career is incredible. It's like they just sit there and do whatever they want at all times, and then they go play around. And this is specifically for Gannon. Gannon will just like, he'll stay up. He'll probably sleep in. Like I'm not saying he's gonna stay up late till 3 a.m. But he'll like hang out. At least when I stayed over his house, we were all just hanging out. Then we went to bed. Woke up like 10 or 11. Gannon does some stretches, and then walks to the course. Shoots 16 down course record. No big deal. And then just goes to a restaurant and just hangs out all the rest of the day. Has fun. Like that is like the coolest thing ever. Obviously, you have to get to that level. You have to get to be that good. But that's one thing that I was like, kind of like, you don't really realize like kind of what they're doing behind the scenes. And you might think it's like, oh, they're like waking up doing push-ups and putting 400 shots a day and doing field work. But no, on tournament rounds, most of them are just kind of like taking it very easy, very slow, warming up obviously before the round, but it's nothing crazy. Maybe a few shots, mostly putting, and then they're good to go. So that was the one thing I noticed, just like how cool it is that they can literally just do whatever they want, and then as long as they show up for the round and execute, then they I don't even know what I'm trying to say. As long as they execute, they after that it's like they just do again. They just have fun. I guess another thing that I noticed with touring pros is it's, I guess this is pretty common. I guess we already know already, but it's so much more kind of accessible, and I guess this is something everyone else has already seen. But like you, Josh, you were in the VIP section, Sunstein, like elbow to elbow or whatever, just with a bunch of pros that came out. It's just like that. I think that's the coolest part about kind of disc golf is like they're very accessible, because normally after the round they're hanging around and sticking around and doing a bunch of stuff and before the round, because they, like I said, they don't have much going on. It's like this is their life, this is their career. So if they just got to show up and do their job, and then after that it's like they don't really have really much going on. Maybe practice a little bit, but yeah, they just got to focus on getting better. And yeah, I other than that, if you ask me a question, I can answer them. But like, yeah, other than that, there wasn't anything like too crazy. I guess like Linus every day. I guess I saw it more from a Linus. Linus every day, I would just like walk in, because I'm not here all the time. I would walk in, he'd be just on his laptop watching Arsenal play, and then maybe putt a little bit in the yard. So that's his off week. He doesn't have he's doesn't have anything to do. He's just on YouTube hanging out and still getting paid for playing disc golf. So that was like probably the number one coolest thing and I'm not saying that as a knock. Obviously they deserve to be there. They're the best in the world. I'm saying that as like how cool it is to just like that career. It's just like, as long as they're playing disc golf and showing up and doing what their sponsors want, they can pretty much do whatever they want the rest without any real stress. Where it's not like if Linus was at home, not a pro disc golfer, and just sat at home all day on his laptop and stuff, people would be like, huh. But like, bro, get a job. But since they're a disc golfer, um, it's like cool. If that makes sense.
Yeah, they've probably had to like. I know you already acknowledging this, so I'm not saying what you said is wrong, but like they had to earn it to get to that point too, right? Like think
Yeah.
how many people out there want to be sponsored and they literally can't get sponsored. So it's like, Lena says the example you're giving. And by the way, hey, we have a Matt sighting in the chat room, and his comment is every player is different, which is like that's probably true. And I think right, Ben, you would probably confirm the same. Even think
Yeah.
of just the range of players. Like you probably clicked with a lot of players who you end up hanging out with, and there's probably other ones that like you barely know because just like there's never been an opportunity didn't click, and they're approaching the game different. Like I will tell you, this is not even from. This is no inside scoop. This is
Oh, I have
anybody
one
could
more
see
thing
this
after
who.
too.
All
Yeah.
right, good. Anybody could see this who shows up at an event. So I'm just stating the obvious, but you have to be on premise to see it. You see like a Paul Macbeth who shows up, warms up, plays the event, is fine and cordial and nice to the fans. He'll sit in the autograph tent. He'll do all the things. But then, like, if you blink, he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like because he's off with his family or he's
Yeah,
prepping or dinner or friends.
yeah, he's an example
gone.
who has a lot of things going on,
Yeah,
which is I think is more, family related.
right.
It's just
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
yeah,
But then you have somebody else. I'm just picking two names to contrast how people are different because that's an obvious statement. But then you have like Big Germ, right? Who, by the way, has lots of things going on too, right? But then he's hanging around, talking a lot. But here's the point: those are personality differences and style differences. And so, like, I'm sure that plays out too. And clearly, we're picking MPO names because that's like who Ben and I and others are probably interacting with.
yeah.
More,
That's
but
who I was
like,
hanging out with. Yeah,
yeah,
obviously I wasn't hanging out with any FVO players. But no, yeah. To that point, I think it's more so the ones that are busier are the ones that do other things other than disc golf. Like Big Germ, I got to hang out with him over during a night, like at my friend Egan's house. He had a pizza night, and it was like Big Germ's off day. But
yep,
during the weekend, he's playing, doing commentary, recording like Joma's practice round. Like he's
yeah.
someone
Full-time job.
where he doesn't really get any downtime other than like the travel days. And I've heard him in interviews saying he only does like 2, maybe 3 practice rounds, but mostly 2 practice rounds per week, just because like that's kind of one, his body obviously he's getting up in age, but that's kind of all like just what he needs and what he has time for. It's just like I think when you get to that certain level, it's like yes, practice is important and you should practice, but when that's your only job, it's like you can't fill up 16 hours in however long we're awake of just practicing. So that even it's your only job, so that maybe 4 hours a day is practicing, but then the rest is just like you got, because you can't over practice. That's just also dumb as well. But yeah, I think the more pros that are kind of busier in a sense have like other things going on that aren't related to their play.
Yeah. I'll mention one more thing, and then Evan, if you have anything to add, great. And it's fine if you don't. But I'm going to pick specifically Gannon, but it's actually not only Gannon, but I'm just going to put him because big name. I probably shouldn't say I'm surprised because actually, like, his age is a lot younger. If I try to, like, I'm going to call myself old on this show, right? In comparison. Like, so it's different, but how much you talked about the practice, but like how much, like Gannon as the example, just lives and breathes playing disc golf. So I'm not even talking about just thinking about it. But Ben, like he finishes Maple Hill and within like
So
maybe I'm
this is
exaggerating.
where I was
Within
going.
within 10 minutes, within 10 minutes, he's over at the other local course like playing a whole round. And then, if it's not time for dinner yet, it's find a way to squeeze in 3 more holes. And can we get over here and play this? And let's throw around in the backyard and let's do a putting game. And next thing you know, I'm like, that is just like as if the actual playing the full course isn't a grind enough. But anyway, everybody's different. But it's just like those are some things some people may not see. It's like, hey, Gannon literally just plays disc golf. Not even just in the Pro Tour tournament. You think he's playing 3 or 4 rounds in those Elite Series events? I feel like he's squeezing in like 15 rounds in like 4 days. And
So
then he drives to a new venue and then plays 15 more rounds. 4 of them happen to be on coverage. It's crazy.
that's where I was going with that. I started to remember because I was trying to. I was like, I swear I have one more that I like thought. So all at least in my like normally the pros that I'm hanging out with are like close to my age, like like Ezra, Gannon, Cole. Obviously, those guys are, but like what I'm saying. I'm not like so. These are just from that experience, Alden. But it seems that for them to have after the round, for them to have fun, since disc golf is their life, they always do something unique after that round. And by that I mean they don't play normal full bag disc golf.
Sure.
I've never played with Gannon. I played a few rounds with him. It's always one disc challenge with a new disc every time, or a glow. Like I played a glow round at Maple Hill with Cole and Luke and Gannon, and so that's kind of like what I noticed. What I thought was cool, since it's their job. They're not going to like pyramids to play. They're trying to have more fun because it's all they do, and they're doing like kind of one disc round. When I did that ace, I did a full bag, but they were doing one disc only challenge. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't play one normal round with them. It was like 3 separate one disc rounds, and then one was a glow round.
Yeah. But then you have some players who aren't doing this at all. And this should be obvious. Think of anything.
They're younger.
They're
just like
right. But yeah, and personality and preferences and age and all that. But like this is true of anything in life, right? Like obviously people are different. That's a kind of an obvious statement, but it is interesting how we sometimes lump the tour in, and it's like, man, there is just so dynamically different. But which is pretty cool. Evan, anything you want to add before we move to one more thing here?
No, appreciate the insight, Ben. I from the outside looking in, it looked like you had a fun time. I saw you on Alden's vlogs.
Throwing an ace in front of me.
Watched that this morning. That was fun.
I ate the sour.
It's always like not my cup of tea, but like fun to watch still. And I think Josh, you maybe have said the same thing in the past, but yeah, that whole sour segment, seeing you in there, that was fun to see.
What
I know that guy.
About? What did I miss?
Alden's vlogs.
Okay. I will see them. I watch his vlogs. I just didn't see that one.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm in relation to Alden's vlogs. I feel more grouped in with Josh and Matt and a little bit older than me generation, and feel like the old guys watching those young whippersnappers have fun on YouTube.
Yeah,
I'm watching it.
But
I'm like the
at the
oldest
same
person.
I'm not enjoying it, but I'm reminiscing how it would have been if I was like 18 or 19. I would have loved it.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm like I was in that room like with Gannon. I was like, I think Gavin might be either my age or a little.
Yeah, Grandpa Gavin and then Uncle Ben.
But yeah, exactly. Where like Gannon 19, Alden probably 20, 21, 22, maybe, I don't even know, and then Silas just turned 21, I believe. So yeah, even me, even though obviously it's not a huge age gap, I'm like the older one in that. In Luke, like playing with Luke Taylor and Cole Riddall, and I'm like 5 years older than these kids at sometimes. Like it's just like kind of crazy.
Yeah. But anyways, looks like you're having fun, and looked like they're having fun too. So yeah, cool experiences. Thanks for sharing it. But yeah, I say let's go into to the game.
Yeah, let's. I was gonna say we're winding down. But let's have fun with a little bit more stats game. Let's see if we can make me look bad and wrap up here. But yeah, let's do it. Let's see what you got, Evan.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're going to play CTP. We played this a few times probably throughout the summer, maybe not too much recently, but this is closest to player. And so I'm going to name a player and a stat. You, without knowing the value for sure, you're going to try to think about what the value is and guess a different player in that stat who you think is the closest to that value. So if I say, Gannon Burr and C1X putting, and it's, I don't know, like 92%, you're going to think about someone who's close to 92%.
Oh, yeah.
Guess that player. And then we'll compare the values that you guess, and whoever's the closest will get points. So I didn't have time to update my spreadsheet, so I think I'm giving 3 points to the closest, 1 point to the next closest. And since there's only 2 people, guessing means if you are the loser, you still get a point. So we'll just have to think about it that way. So the winner still gets 3 points. So you're still getting 2 points on the other person. So it's really 2 and 0, but just the scale will be off. So hopefully that's not too confusing as far as points go. But we're rolling with it with this special 3-person staggered stance show. So starting out, well, we're going to go on the theme of USDGC / throw pink winners, go through all of them, then with a stat. These numbers are all this year in 2024, the Pro Tour season, which is major and elite series events. And for the standings, it'll be for the Pro Tour standings when I get there. So this is all of 2024 season. So starting off, we got Kyle Klein in total cash earned in the 2024 Pro Tour season. Kyle Klein, total cash he has earned.
I'm going Matty O.
From tournament prize cash.
So, right. So if we knew exactly what Kyle Klein earned, we're trying to guess who else earned close value. The same.
Yes, exactly.
Ow. Kyle Klein. Matteo sounds like a good guess. Gavin Babcock.
All right. Kyle Klein has earned $38,967.
All right.
The closest
That's
one to
more than I
that
thought.
is Matt Oram, who has 29,821.
Ooh, 7.
Gavin Babcock, next closest, the furthest away, 22,012. So
I feel like Gavin Babcock was a good guess, though. He's been having a pretty sneaky season.
Yeah,
Good
it was
season.
good, but not good enough. You nailed Matty O. So
Let's go.
Yeah,
3 points.
I thought both solid guesses. We got Ben at 3 points, Josh at 1 point. Again, losers get a point in this unique format. Next up, we got Holland Hanley in C1X putting makes. So not a percentage, just total number of C1 putts that she has made this season.
Oh my goodness. The whole season putts made.
The whole season putts made. Like how do you even go from
Yeah,
there?
how do you quantify that? Because you could be the worst putter in the world and still make a C1X putt with happens.
Or you're putting from bullseye, which is not from C1X.
But you're just talking about a raw number. Like you're like
raw
whatever
number.
It is, like
so you're just
1,000.
thinking someone who made a lot of putts.
Okay.
But made a lot of this is why it's confusing me because like I feel like
All right, if you don't like it, we can go different stat.
no,
C1X
keep going. But I'm just saying like all
right,
players have to make a putt
150.
to finish.
Yeah, but some might be
Oh, I'm not supposed
bullseye.
to guess the number.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
some might
it's
be
if you're
bullseye
not
putts,
if you're
and
not
those
bullseye.
do not count.
Okay.
Like, let's say you're a bad C1X putter, and I'm putting from 15 feet. I doink it, and it lands 5 feet away, and I make that 5-footer. That's not a C1X make. That's a bullseye make.
Okay, I got you. I'll go Holland Hanley. I'll go Cat Merch.
And remember, this can go across divisions too. So you can think of an MPO player who you think have a similar amount, or an FPO player for an MPO player. Or
Holland
sticking in the same
Hanley's a
division.
pretty good C1X, and so I'm literally going to just go with the best, Kristen Tatar.
All right.
By
Something.
the way, I would like. Do you have the number in front of you? I just said 150 on.
Yeah, you're
I'm curious
not
what the
even
number is.
not even close. 617.
Oh my goodness.
C1X
Yeah,
makes on the
that makes
season.
sense.
You got to think it's probably
I don't
about
think
like
about it, right?
12 per round.
Per round, yeah.
Yeah, and then 20 events per year, 3 to 4 rounds per
Silly number
tournament.
on my part.
So that kind of comes out to roughly 600, I think. Actually, maybe a little bit more than that. So, but yeah, Holland Hanley was 617. Before I get into it, I think an important thing to note is total number of events. And Kat Merch has played more events than Kristen Tatar. She has 510. That is just 100 away. Kristen Tatar is at 377, almost half the amount of Holland Hanley. So points to Ben there for Kat Merch. So 6-2-2. Going into our third one where we have Gannon Burr with C2 makes, C2 putting makes. So the same question, but instead of C1X, we're going C2 on the full season.
Ricky
Westside. Gannon Burr, C2 makes.
Putts. James Proctor.
And I just was going to, I'm I'm going to get that in.
Well, and hold on, I'm going to guess the number on this one.
Okay.
Let's see. So now I'm doing math on a calculator, but I'm doing it based off of whatever. I don't know. We're saying for the total event, 120, closer to my original 150. That's what I said for the first one.
Yeah. Your first guess was even closer. It's 131 for Gannon Burr. Gannon Burr has the most C2 makes in MPO this season at 131. The two answers you guys gave were both great guesses. They're fourth and tied for fifth at 120 and 115. So just,
Wow.
11 to 16 lower. And James Proctor is the closer one at 120. So Josh gets the 3 points.
No.
And Ben, you drop your first points of the game. But you still hold the lead 7-5. Of course, with losers still getting points in this format. Let's keep it moving. Let's go. Katrina Allen, her Disc Golf Pro Tour rank. Katrina Allen won Throw Pink 2 years ago. And her Disc Golf Pro Tour rank this year is blank. Try to get someone who is close to that. If you know the exact one, which this is a little bit of
I want to make sure I understand. You're saying so.
No idea.
So just maybe explain it again. So
her place in the
Katrina
Disc Golf
Allen-
Pro Tour standings.
Right. So
Katrina
like the
Allen's-
thing I was talking about earlier. So like I might know her position, but then I need to get someone else.
Yeah, you might need to get someone else nearby. And I am admitting that this does give a slight advantage to Josh, maybe bigger than a slight advantage since you were looking at it so much. But I think Ben's a smart guy and can figure out one that's close enough.
Sarah Hokum.
I know I'm like, maybe I'm the one who's like confused here, but I need to pick another player who finished close to what Katrina Allen finished
So
at this year.
if Katrina
Yes.
was first, you'd have to pick second. Or if Katrina was third, you'd have to pick second or
okay,
fourth.
all right. And so I know what Katrina Allen finished this year.
Oh my!
But do you know the players who finished behind or in front of her?
He just has to pick closer than Sarah Hokum.
Or the
but-
exact number in MPO. That could also satisfy it. That'd be intense.
Oh, that'd
be
pretty
intense.
intense. Well, now, okay. Am I allowed to admit that I'm looking at the spreadsheet I had up earlier?
No, you can't look at the spreadsheet.
I know, but I
you have.
literally had it in front of me. My eyes couldn't look away from it,
Okay, point. Well,
which is like ruining it. But I should have just like I'm too honest.
Look away.
all right. Should we
hold
just have
on.
the
Ezra
chat guess?
Aderhold.
So he knows exactly.
No, that's not exact. I couldn't make it that obvious.
All right.
I'm ruining it. But hey, I'm admitting I ruined it.
We'll have to see. Maybe
in
we'll leave
some
this
ways,
to the
all
chat
of
for
the- look,
officiating.
Yes, but to be clear, this is a personal spreadsheet I built. So,
Yeah.
like Evan, in some ways, like I did the preparation pre-show.
All right. We'll leave it to everyone to decide. We're gonna call provisional and just
That's
keep
fine,
on
that's
moving
fine,
on. Katrina Allen finished in 36th place. Sarah Hokum in 38th. Ezra Aderhold in 35th. So points
What?
to Josh.
Yo, wait,
Ben,
why was
incredible guess. You were
Yeah,
2
Ben,
away.
yeah.
Are
Josh
you
is only
kidding
1
me?
away.
Yeah.
But Josh may have been cheating. So
May
we
have
will.
been. I mean,
May have
I
been.
don't know why I should get docked for like literally doing pre-work on the show, but
because you were looking at it.
I know, but I earned like if
All
No,
right,
you were
so-
looking at
before
it
the
right
show.
now.
I just vote
All right,
Ben.
no more looking at it.
Ben, go back to winning and just win fair and square, and then we can
Yeah, let's
call
nail
this
it right
simple.
here.
So I'm rooting for Ben for the rest of this game. Next one we got up is Paul Macbeth, and then the stat is a fun one that I like to do, kind of in my own analyzing of my game, but I call it slugging percentage, similar to the baseball stat. But it adds your parked C1 in regulation and your C2 in regulation, adds all the percentages together. It turns into it can be higher than 100%, obviously.
Right.
So you kind of format it as in a in decimal form.
Did you say putting or C1 C1 reg?
Parked C1 in regulation, C2 in regulation. So if you went 75% in C2, 50% in C1, and like 10% parked, that'd be 1.35. Because you would add all of them together. So it's just one driving stat. It pretty much is weighting parked 3 times as much as C2 in regulation since you add it all together. So it's just kind of one singular driving number. So we're doing Paul Macbeth and then slugging percentage. So just think about overall driving compared to Paul Macbeth.
Yeah. I mean, oh, no idea really. So I'm going to say Ricky Wysocki. That's not enough. I mean, I love the idea of the number. I have not looked at it, so that's
Niklas Antilla.
All right.
Okay, so Paul Macbeth's slugging on the year is 1.183. The closest to that is Niklas Antila with 1.197.
Wow.
Just
we sure
point
Ben's not
zero. if he had this number calculated that quickly, impressive to him. Yeah. Meanwhile, so 0.014. And then Ricky was 0.082 or 78. I'm missing
So that was
my
close
numbers.
again,
Either
right?
way, a good amount more. So, although in the slimmest of margins, good amount more.
Too bad
So-
I didn't make a spreadsheet about slugging before the show.
Yeah, should have thought ahead. All right, we're rolling through this. Missy Gannon, previous Throw Pink winner, podiums in the 2024 season.
Oh, man. Missy Gannon podiums. Let's say she played 20 minutes, 18.
Has a number of wins. Certainly has a few more podiums.
All right, Holland Hanley.
Open podiums. Kristen Tatar.
That's your final answer, right?
Yeah.
When I
Yep.
think about the number of events played, there's just no way.
Well, you would think. Missy Gannon has 8 podiums on the season.
Okay.
Kristen Tatar has 11. Holland Hanley has 10. So points to Josh, ties it back up.
Oh, yeah, that's actually crazy. So my point was really wrong. I just got lucky.
Yeah, exactly. She has played fewer events and has more podiums. She's good at disc golf, Josh. So don't underrate.
No, I knew that. I don't know.
All right,
Not
last
Missy's
few
good.
here. We got Chris Dickerson. And remember this one, the Sexton putting barometer, which is the number of C2
Yeah.
makes minus the C1X misses. So if you don't make any C2 putts,
Makes.
you're certainly going to miss C1X putts. We all do. At some point, it's going to be a negative number. If you make way more C2 putts than C1X misses and you don't miss anything from C2, you're going to have a higher positive number. In this metric, it's a really impressive feat to have a positive number.
Yeah, so if
Because-
I'm 5 for 10 in C2 putting, what's my number?
Well, it depends on your C1X putting. If you're 5 for 10 from C2, but 8 for 10 from C1X, you would have 5 C2 makes and
Yeah.
2 C1X misses. So you would have plus 3 because you have 5 minus 2.
That's
So
great. All right. I totally get it, but yeah,
this is a tough game to do the calculations in the moment. And
which is the point. Yeah, so
but
who was your barometer? Who are you picking?
Chris Dickerson, the simple way to play this game is who is as good of a putter, especially from C2 compared to C1X, as Chris Dickerson.
Right.
Proctor.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Who else is really good? I'm going to pick like C2, Gannonburr.
All right. You both are picking stellar C2 putters. And not to underrate Chris Dickerson's putting ability, but his Sexton putting barometer is just 1.
Okay.
So I must have won.
And
'cause
and
Scannon's
for
better
reference, 49 players have had a Sexton in MPO had a Sexton putting barometer over 1, and only 22 in double digits. So it is rare, but also Chris Dickerson is a good
I
putter,
won.
but he
I
is
had
only
to
at
have
1. You both picked stellar C2 putters. James Proctor's at 61. Gannon-Burr's at 53. So Gannon-Burr
what?
is the best at this
I
stat.
thought he made the
Sorry.
most.
James Proctor is the best at this stat
Wait.
compared to. So,
Okay.
yeah, you.
Dang.
Well, actually, excuse me, Matt Bell's the best. He's at 64. Anyways,
Wow.
Gannon-Burr is not as good at this stat as James Proctor, so he's closer to Chris Dickerson. So the points go to Josh, who takes a 2-point lead with 2 stats
How much
left.
more we have to go?
Let's go.
So, all right, 2
let's
left.
bring it home.
We got
I need to get
Paige
this one.
Pierce, who did not win Throw Pink, but won the Women's National Championship at Winthrop in 2020, which was a major. Paige Pierce in strokes gained putting over the entire season. The total amount of strokes gained putting. So not on a per average, just
like you're
total
saying this whole
total raw
season.
number this whole season, the total strokes that she has gained putting.
I don't even know how many events she played. Not as many as everybody. 100. Oh, no. I'm supposed to guess who else is close. I keep doing math in my head because then I say who's going to be close. But I guess that's kind of like arbitrary. So who putts a lot like Paige relative to the field?
It's so hard.
I was going to say, literally, this is kind of like random guesses at this point, which is just fine. Oh, I'm verbalizing it out loud so Ben can listen. Own putts too well for that. Who has the same kind of game as Paige? How about Holland Hanley?
Okay.
Who I've picked a lot.
Yes. I will go Missy Gannon.
You guys are, I mean, not to underrate Paige's abilities, but you guys are both picking good putters. Gain a lot of strokes. Paige Pierce on the entire season has gained 38.43 strokes gained putting.
Total? Like that's it? Oh,
Yep.
boy.
Missy Gannon is the next closest at 61.79. Holland Hanley's all the way at 106.02.
Yes.
Lots of strokes.
Okay, let's go.
So
I
we have a
should've
tie
changed
ball
it
game.
more. I struggled there.
As long as we have some sort of separation, we will have a winner going into the final person, which is James Conrad, the USDGC winner from 2019.
Yep.
His strokes gained tee to green on the season. Total number on the entire season from James Conrad, strokes gained tee to green.
Strokes gained tee to green. Yeah, I don't even like. I mean, this is fun game. I'm not critiquing.
Sounds like you're knocking it.
Well, I know
Maybe
it
you
probably
wouldn't
does.
knock it if you were
How do
winning.
If I win, I'll be happy. But I'm just trying to think how to answer this. Right? It's like I have to think who plays a similar game to James. Nobody plays a similar game to James. Strokes gained tee to green. Chris Dickerson. They don't play at all like each other, but there you go.
All right, I'm gonna go Ezra Aderhold.
All right.
Is there a winner?
There is a winner, and this one was not close.
Dang it!
James Conrad has 65.18 strokes gained tee to green on the
Chris
season.
has way more than that.
Chris Dickerson has 164.15. Ezra Aderhold's at 54.67, around, let's say, 10 strokes below, with Chris Dickerson 100 above.
Let's go.
We have been outright winner. No provisional needed. I wasn't rooting against you, Josh. Maybe just a little bit.
That's fine.
But
I'll just have to retire this Statmando hat.
yeah. Okay. Maybe you can keep it on. But thanks for playing. Maybe I have the most fun of this game than anyone, but I think it's good insight on season stats for people and stats you might not look about, and really makes you think. So I would love to be on the other end of this game sometime.
Yes, clearly, Evan. I mean, us guessing does feel somewhat random, but actually the real value and the fun of the game is thinking about what the number tells us about the player, and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, or that angle, or this person's a better putter or worse or whatever. So that's a cool way to do it. Thanks for bringing that. I appreciate it. Hey, well, just the three of us had a very full show tonight. So, whether the listeners love it or not, I think we enjoyed it. At least I hope. And I don't think we have any special outro music or all of our normal stuff. So, Ben, Evan, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I got something. So, since this was a great 3-person show, leave in the comments below who you are voting off the show. Nick or Matt?
Oh, that way. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be one of us.
Since we held it down, two of us next time. Leave in the comments who you're gonna vote off the show. Nick or Matt, since we were no, I'm just kidding. Don't leave the comments.
Say who you'd rather want back. I don't know. Maybe that's the same thing, just different.
Yeah.
What-
Oh yeah. That's what I mean. Who do you? Yes.
What
Who would
attribute about both? Both.
Actually,
you
you know
have to
what?
answer both. What
How about this?
attribute
Instead
do you
of that,
miss
instead
about
of-
Matt?
instead-
What attribute about Nick do you miss?
Yes.
That's the
Instead of
positive way to do it.
negativity, tell us in the show what was missing that Matt would have brought positively, and what's missing that
Big
Nick would have
beard.
brought positively that you guys miss that they bring to the table of Staggered Stance. So you're like, oh, like if Nick was here, he'd say this and do this, which I miss. And same with Matt. Let's be positive. I was making a joke. Survivor. Anyways,
Do
That's
that.
about it.
And yeah, maybe also take a guess who
Go
of the five
Yankees.
of us most regularly read the comments. You have to put that guess in the comments also.
yeah, it's.
Yeah,
I think
write us a
it's
nice
me and
little
you,
note.
Josh, both. I mean, I read the comments every single week, so.
Boom.
And so do you.
All right. Well, again, really, I've enjoyed it. USDGC big week major. I love all the majors, but Worlds is number one for me. USDGC number two. So I'm psyched. European Open number three, Champions Cup number four, and so on. And mixed US women's right in there. Love it. So I'm stoked. Should be a big week of disc golf. Again, best wishes to everybody, especially in Florida right now. Obviously, those who impacted North Carolina from Helene. Thinking about you all. Stay safe. Enjoy disc golf if you can. And yeah, what's the phrase? I've never said it, but I believe it. Tell someone you love them.
Keep on rocking in the free world and doot doot doot.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, thank you. And on that, I think Ben will end the show. Evan, thanks for joining. Good stuff. Have a good night, everybody.
Westy Acres.